improve availability of buses and reduce waiting times at all bus corridors.
Lagos State Commissioner for Transportation Oluwaseun Osiyemi, through his permanent secretary, said the state policy reflects the government's commitment to safe, reliable and affordable transportation for all residents.
This is more so as the movement of commuters, goods and services from place to place are vital and inseparable aspects of global and urban economic survival. Over the years, the Lagos State Ministry of Transportation has reflected the contemporary realities and the vision of the present administration as regards beginning negotiations with an efficient and effective transport system. This informed the various policies the ministry adopted to ensure reduction in traffic congestion at places where otherwise motorists and commuters spend many unproductive hours in traffic. You will all recall the executive order signed by Mr. Governor on traffic management, following which very critical junctions were identified and remodeled to mitigate traffic gridlock. The government has worked on these junctions to engender better traffic flow. We can attest to the salutary effects of such improvements on Allen Roundabout, Lekki First and Second Roundabout, and the ongoing improvement at Toyin Okpebi Allen and at the Bola Subdivision areas. To better manage traffic-related issues such as overspeeding and indiscipline on the road, the government, through the ministry, has installed ITS in some areas of Lagos State. We have installed e-police sites at Allen Avenue Junction and Nuruddin Olo-Okoko Road. We have also installed road signs to inform motorists of these regulations. About a year ago, Mr. Governor unveiled the state transport policy, a roadmap to Lagos' brighter, more effective, efficient, and sustainable future. Mr. Governor informed that the policy became necessary to eliminate the barrage of transport challenges facing the state's transport system, ranging from traffic congestion to pollution and inadequate infrastructure. The Lagos State transport policy is built upon a foundation of inclusivity, sustainability, and innovation. It embodies the government's commitment to providing safe, reliable, and affordable transportation options for all residents, regardless of their socio-economic status or location within the state, as well as integrating our various modes of transportation. The soon-to-be Commissioner Abelegba Bus Terminal therefore reflects the letters and spirit of the Lagos State transport policy. It is to provide a central place for connecting to different parts of Lagos, and based on this, I want to congratulate Mr. Governor on commissioning yet another impactful and life-changing infrastructure for the Abule-Egba community of Agege and the entire Lagos State. Mr. Governor, please be assured of our desire to continue to work until the last hour of this administration to bring your vision and that of the state government to reality.
This administration prioritizes traffic management and transport as the first pillar of its Themes Plus agenda. The Lagos State government has been and is still investing in the provision of infrastructure for public transportation, including rail, bus services, and water transportation. To properly coordinate bus operations in communities, bus terminals are necessary and are thus provided. Bus terminals are important because they provide a central location for passengers to board and exit buses and connect to other forms of transportation. To date, the Lagos State government has provided bus terminals in Ikeja, Oshodi, Transit Interchange, Aja, Oyingbo, Yaba, Ojota, Ifakoijaye, and now at Abule-Egba. Iyano Ipaja bus terminal is currently also under construction. Like other terminals before this, Abule-Egba terminal has loading bays, a terminal building with a customer service area, a waiting area, spaces for restaurants and other commercial services, offices for ground staff and other BOCs, public conveniences, a water treatment plant, and provision for green energy, amongst others.
This development has integrated Abule Agba, located in the Orile Agege Local Council Development Area, into Lagos's growing network of communities connected by modern public bus stations. Abule Agba residents have commended the governor for the project but urged for affordable bus fares.
Abule Agba too is moving forward. If you look at the Abule Agba, they've changed it compared to 5-10 years backward, because I lived at Songo, something like that. But they've changed the face of Lagos as a whole, and they are building gradually. So I will tell Lagos State as a whole that they should remember us in Badagry. Presently, I reside in Badagry. God will help them. They've tried concerning the express road there, and God will help them to do more and more to all sectors, all areas in Lagos State. Up Lagos State, up Nigeria.
When you are partaking in BRT buses, it applies to everyone, whether you own a car or you don't. It decongest the traffic on the highways, so everybody don't have to put their cars on the road. So sometimes, if you don't have a special function, you can just leave your car back home and make use of the public transport, like the BRT. So the one in Abule Agba, I think it's like, you know, and because that place is heading towards Ogun State, Abeokuta. So if you are able to get there faster, you can, you know, continue your journey to other areas. And people that are staying there, they can easily live like in outskirts of Lagos, while they live there. And they can go to work and come back on time without wearing out. So it's helping the masses a lot.
Sanwo-Olu added that the state expects new CNG and electric buses by the third quarter of 2025 with the aim to enhance Lagos bus services. He also urged residents to take ownership of the project to prevent vandalism of the infrastructure.
Welcome back. Lagos residents are truly reaping the benefits of taxpayers' money. Kudos to Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and his team. Well, that's all we have on this episode of Lagos Voices. I'm Sydney Okafor. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.
Well, I didn't know on time because I only knew that she found it difficult to read, you know, and even when she started school, although I thought I was part of the reasons why she could not catch up with her mates, because I was actually I move around a lot. So when I moved, she has to change school. So I was thinking that maybe that was the problem. But I actually found out later that even when I got her good teachers, you know, the normal set of school teachers, I found out that she still finds it difficult. She's actually brilliant, very, very brilliant. But when it comes to book, she finds it difficult to read.
My name is Mrs. Uchenna Ahanotu, the director of Nene Special Education Center. I'm an educational psychologist, currently pursuing my doctorate degree in educational psychology from Imo State University. My dream had been always to help students to excel in their academics. So my dream had always been for gifted students. But then I now started coming across children with learning disabilities, and I found out that they were not getting the support they need. So I was helping them in my little way, one-on-one. until it now came to my doorpost. I got reports from the school that my daughter will be repeating class, primary 1. I was like, why? And they said she's not meeting up. This is a girl that is normally intelligent. You know she knows everything, but they said she couldn't read. So as an educational psychologist, I now had to go back to my books because I had packed my books. I went back to my books to study. I now found out that there is something called dyslexia, and not just dyslexia, there were other neurological disorders. There was autism, there was ADHD, there was all those cerebral palsy. All of them are linked together. So that was how I started focusing on children with learning disabilities. I was going from school to help them, but then 2 times a week, 2 hours a day is not enough. It wasn't giving us the results we wanted. So we now had to open the center, and I told the parents, if you want an intensive program for your child, you could enroll him or her here. When she has developed to a certain stage, she can now go back to mainstream school. That was how Learning Center started.
High five. A sound. B sound. C sound.
The thing is, when a child is not performing well in school, and you know you have tried all you can, you've given the necessary intervention, lesson teacher, good books and all that, and she's still performing low, I think it's time to diagnose her. As a psychologist, we diagnose, when a child comes to our center, we diagnose the child first to know the specific area of challenge. And that's why we're able to now diagnose, say this is dyslexia, this is dyscalculia, this is ADHD, this is autism. It can become comorbid with speech delay, whatever it is. So diagnosis is what we do first. When we diagnose, we can now draw up an education plan for the child. All our children have their own education plan, because a child with dyslexia is not at the same pace with another child with dyslexia. So we do one-on-one therapy, we do one-on-one teaching for them, meeting them at their various points of need, and then they come up. So that's basically the strategy, identifying the specific disadvantage and then tackling it individually, not as a class. My staff and I, we go for professional training. We go for courses mainly online.
Okay, this is actually a timer. This is a timer we use for their section. So each section for a child, because of children with autism, most time they are diagnosed with ADHD, that's attention deficit hyperactive disorder. So it's difficult for you to treat them in a normal class and take a long time with them. So we time our sections with them. For each section for a child, we have 15 minutes. So I put on my timer for 15 minutes. So I know that at the end of 15 minutes, the child knows he's done. You see them standing up sometimes because they're like, just want to get up and leave. So it helps us to time them and get the best results.
Challenges. Well, sometimes I want them to, like, you're teaching the child something, other child you can easily pick up, but you have to keep consistently going over it day by day and all, and it's like seeing as if you're not getting a result. Or when you're trying to keep kids with ADHD, getting them to sit still while you're teaching them, it's can be very, very tasking. And also, sometimes they just don't want to learn. It's sometimes like that.
She has improved a lot compared to what she was then, because she was having low self-esteem, and then, but here they kind of, brought our confidence up. Our confidence level is a lot higher, and even if you are not careful, you won't even know that she has that condition again. So I'm actually happy with my experience with Nene Special Center.
Well, it's been quite encouraging. It's been good. It's been a lovely experience. Jaden, my son, couldn't do some things not until he started with the speech school. He couldn't feed himself. He couldn't identify letters. He couldn't identify numbers, but his hearing was perfectly well and he's still fine. He hears very, very well, but he couldn't identify some things. But right now, he can identify, he can make sounds and the rest of them. So I'm impressed.
Before, she won't even try to pronounce, as in, if the word is difficult, she just jumps it to the next word. But now she's trying to, and then she has improved in her reading. She has improved in her self-esteem. I don't know, psychologically, she has improved.
We started last year, 2022, with the few students I had. So this year we plan to go more social media and then reach out to schools, primary schools in particular, to inform the headmistresses, the proprietors, that there is a diagnostic center where they can diagnose a child's learning challenge, because most of them are harbored in these schools, but the teachers are confused. They just think maybe the child doesn't want to read. So we want to tell them there's a center where they can diagnose the child's disability, and then we can also help them to tackle the challenge. So our aim is just the proprietors, and then through social media, we reach out to parents that are worried about their child's development.
I want to ask every parent that when you observe that kind of situation with your child, you should seek. Don't just assume, because some secular schools, they don't really look out for these conditions in children. They just assume that the child is poor or the child is dull. They don't have provision for that in most schools. So, and then such child will have low self-esteem, and it will look like they cannot do anything, or they look inferior to their peers.
Clap for yourself, clap for yourself.
As I said, we started exactly May last year. So this is just 1 year, and we have had a total of 12 kids, about 12, 13 kids. And some of them are still on now.
Well, I must say it has been an amazing one. It has really been amazing. I get to meet wonderful kids every day. Yes, I see them and I'm like, God, these kids are just wonderful, because the world might not see them in that way, but meeting them every day has been like a blessing to me. Being able to interact with kids, it has been great.
My advice to parents that they should find out and keep a close eye on their child. Try to find out about their disabilities earlier in life, so that it will reduce the amount of time that we have to teach them.
Early detection matters. If your child is delaying, just come and find out if it's disorder or delay. We will tell you. If it's delay, we'll just tell you to go. With time, he will talk. But if it's disorder, you have to start immediately to intervene to help the child. Please find a good learning environment for your child. Find a center that understands their challenge and that will be able to tackle their challenge with the right resources and with the right frame of mind. It's not a flogging issue. They need all the love and care they can get, and they also need the professional touch to get them out of where they are.
There are many sad and dark events in human history, but none devastated the African continent like slavery. To understand some of the plight those who were sold into slavery went through, one must visit Goree Island, their last point of departure from the African continent to the New World. Boarding the ferry to Goree Island. This is no slave ship, but it is no less built to capacity. But this time, with goods, tourists, traders, and for a hint of Noah's Ark, some animals, even though there are not two of each kind. Slavery ended more than 153 years ago. One can't help but feel sadness just walking the streets, trying to imagine what went through the minds of these citizens of various countries as they were hauled, sold, and shipped to a strange new world. Where did these slaves come from?
At that time, each African ethnic group had its price. And the most expensive ethnic group used to be the Yoruba. Yeah, they were from Nigeria. Because those Yoruba were very strong and tough. And they worked very hard in the plantations. That's why they were more expensive. They took those kids for two reasons. First, because in the plantations in America, there were some special jobs, typically for the kids, and they did them very well. And then because of most of those kids were from the parents very strong, because they saw that when they will grow up, they will be strong like their parents. That's why they took them. In all the 28 slave houses in Goree Island, the slave masters have the right to sleep with the young girls. Once a young girl was pregnant, she became free here in Goree Island or in Saint Louis in northern Senegal. But she wasn't totally free because usually she worked as domestic slave in the European houses, That's why some of the young girls found a kind of interest to be pregnant from white masters so they can be free. At that time, the price of a man was up to his weight and his muscles. So the minimum weight for men was 60 kilos. Those who have less than 60 kilos, they put them in this special cell just in order to fatten them up. Let me tell you that they did not buy slaves with money. It was exchange. For example, to buy a man up to 60 kilos or a virgin girl, you could give a gun or a barrel of wine or a blanket or something like that. To buy a child, you could give a mirror or a necklace or a piece of tobacco or something like that. So that's why people used to say that Africans also were involved into the slave trade, because some of the African tribal chiefs were collaborating with the Europeans. Yeah. And here, this is a punishment room for rebels. Those who fought against their masters, they put them inside to punish them. As you can see, they could not stand up inside because of the hooks. 4 or 5 people at the same time in this small room. In 1991, we welcomed in this house Nelson Mandela. And then Mandela came inside. He stayed in for about 5 minutes. But when he came out, Mandela was crying. Right in that you have the waiting rooms. The slave used to wait here before the shipment. At the famous door of no return. Because once the slave got out from this door, it's mean bye-bye Africa. They took them to America and they never come back. Because of the rocks, the boat could not come near. That's why from this door, they built a kind of palm wooden bridge as a wharf. But during every shipment, some of them tried to escape by jumping into water, but they never could go far because either they were killed by the security guards or they were eaten by the sharks. Why the sharks? Because at the time, in all the 28 slave houses in Goree Island, once a slave got sick, just to avoid the epidemics, they threw him into water and that attracted the sharks. That's why there were a lot of sharks around the island. Let me tell you that slavery lasted in Goree Island from 1536 to 1848, more than 300 years. And during that time, there were about 15 to 20 million slaves coming from all over the African western coast. They transit through Goree Island to America, and 6 million of them died because of bad treatment. 6 million. Very emotional, but he knows it's very, in a higher level, the history and the relationships between Africa and other countries, and also he knows exactly what's happened between the 16th until 19th. I'm talking about the slavery and the Atlantic slave trade.
Walking away from the island, there are some pretty paintings on the street walls. One must ask, what have these walls seen, or what cries have they heard over the last 300 years? Somehow, I don't want the real answers to that question. Maybe you do.
Welcome back to the newsroom. I'm Okpayemi Wosheni, and these are the stories we're tracking at the moment. The Nigerian government has reaffirmed its commitment to equipping unemployed youth with skills that address Nigeria's contemporary economic needs. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Nenatwe Yiwaltda, made this known on Wednesday during a visit to participants from the North Central Zone, attending the ongoing Skills to Wealth training program in Jos, which was launched last week. The minister explained that the initiative aims to arm young people with practical skill set that enables them to participate productively in the economy. And the Nigerian government is making plans to release intervention fund to support the struggling foreign missions. This is in a bid to cushion the effect of month-long financial strain and avert further deterioration in Nigeria's diplomatic presence abroad. Now, despite a steady increase in allocations over the past 5 years, including a record 214.6 billion naira earmarked for personnel costs in the proposed 2025 budget, embassies have struggled with delayed releases and insufficient operational funds. The former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, has commended the Nigerian government for its plan to deploy 9,000 kilometers of fiber optic network. He noted that although he is not an admirer of President Bola Tinubu's administration, as it is well known, he commended the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, for doing an excellent job in his role, which he believes deserves more recognition and praise. Meanwhile, Governor Uba Sani of Kaduna State has reinstated the State Ministry of Information that was scrapped by the administration of his predecessor, Nasir El-Rufai. The governor also redeployed the Commissioner of Education, Mohammed Sani Bello, to head the new ministry, while the former Director General of Energy Commission of Nigeria, Abubakar Sani Sambo, is appointed as the new Commissioner of Education. And on business, the chairman of First Oldco PLC, Femi Otedola, has credited the Nigerian government's economic reforms and the CBN's policies as key drivers behind this 320 billion naira personal investment in First Bank. Otedola made the remarks on Thursday at the 13th annual general meeting of First Oldco PLC. He noted that the bank's journey aligns with the bold and visionary leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who deserves credit for championing the tough but necessary reforms in Nigeria. And a top 5 court on Thursday ruled that former Prime Minister Inglok Shiwatra must pay more than $300 million in compensation over a controversial rice subsidy scheme during her time in office. The ruling is the latest round in a long-running legal battle over the rice scheme that has already seen Yingluck, aunt of current Prime Minister, given a prison sentence in absentia. The Supreme Administration Court overturned on Thursday a lower court ruling cancelling a finance ministry order that Yingluck pay compensation over the scheme. And finally on sports, Ultimate Fighting Championship will hold its first event in mainland China since the COVID-19 pandemic, he announced on Thursday. The top MMA promotion has poured resources into developing the China market and has a multi-million-dollar performance institute in Shanghai. And those are the stories making the rounds from our newsroom at this time. We'll update you at the top of the hour.
Cut. All right. What's your name again? Kemi?
Yes, sir.
Good. Are you ready for us for next week?
Yes, sir.
Next.
No, sir. No.
What? Look, what we need here is one who can speak fluent English. Give her a chance.
I need a angel to hold me. Hold me, my beautiful angel.
Cut! It is Angel, not Angel. Please, I'm done with you. Excuse us. Kemi was far better.
It's not about our rendition. It's not about our performance here. By the time she and her friends join us in our hotel room, you will.
Welcome to the program. I'm Okpeyemi Owosheni. We start off with business news. Nigeria's external reserves witnessed a net increase of over $260 million within a single week, signaling a modest improvement in the country's foreign account. Latest data from the Central Bank of Nigeria revealed that the increase began on May 9th, when reserves stood at $38.12 billion. The figure had risen to $38.21 billion by May 12th. It continued again, reaching $38.30 billion on May 14th and $38.33 billion on May 15th, before closing the week at $38.38 billion on May 16, 2025. Now, the rebound follows a challenging period caused by pressure from external debt repayment, falling oil production, and volatile forex demand. And the federal and Lagos state government have called for investment in production of local goods as well as consumption of made in Nigeria products to boost small and medium enterprises in the country. Speaking at the 16th meeting of the National Council on Industry, Trade and Investment, organized by the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, the Lagos State Commissioner for Commerce, Cooperatives, Trade and Investment highlights the urgent need to diversify the country's economy from over-reliance on oil. TV360's Victoria Akonde completes this next report.
Recent global shifts in energy policies, coupled with declining oil demand and volatile crude prices, have underscored the urgent need for Nigeria to reduce its reliance on oil revenues. At the state level, the Lagos state government says it is already making efforts at creating an enabling environment that will attract investment, support industrial growth, and empower businesses to thrive. While advocating more investment in producing local goods and consuming them rather than relying on importation of foreign goods, the Lagos State Commissioner for Commerce, Cooperatives, Trade and Investment, Folashade Ambrose, urges both federal and state governments to explore new markets, unlock the potential of the country's youthful population, and embrace the digital economy as a catalyst for industrial and trade expansion.
Our strategy is rooted in two far-reaching frameworks. One, the proposed Lagos State Industrial Policy, LSIP, 2025 to 2030, which redefines industrialization as a deliberate, inclusive, and technological-driven enterprise focused on local value addition, manufacturing excellence, and green industrial growth.
In his address, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, says Nigeria must swiftly implement necessary measures to diversify its economy.
Build up labor-intensive sectors, all right? And of course, produce locally for domestic consumer market. I made a reference earlier on that economic activities are in three planks: production, consumption, then exchange or trade in between. Now, my recommendation with respect to production is that we should look at what India did. India began to promote a concept. They called it Make in India. Not made, Make in India. Which speaks to the fact that we make our geography conducive to manufacturers to produce within India. Now, the same thing can be done by every subnational.
Other speakers urged the government to adopt policies that will make Nigeria's manufacturing sector conducive for both local and international manufacturers.
Studies have indicated that flexible work hour arrangements within the clusters, and that's what our study shows, have led to improved employee performance and retention, highlighting the importance of adaptive human resource practices in manufacturing setting. However, like I said, challenges such as infrastructure deficit and overregulation by government agencies, 3 tiers of government agencies, persistently result in suboptimal performance. I move to another part of the country, Aba manufacturing cluster. The Aba policy measures and reducing bureaucratic hurdles are essential to create a more attractive environment for businesses within these clusters. Provision of tax incentives can encourage investments and growth, simplifying trade procedures and reducing import duties on raw materials will lower production costs and improve competitiveness.
All the speakers say Nigeria has the potential to become #1 in Africa in the industrial sector. They also call on the government at all levels to aggressively explore the non-oil sector, which they argue holds strong potential for revenue generation, job creation and economic transformation. Victoria Akonde, TV360 News, Lagos.
We'll go on a break now and be back with company news. Welcome back. The Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, CIBN, has reassured the public of the stability and safety of the country's banking sector, describing recent media reports questioning the financial health of a Nigerian bank as misleading and unfounded. In a statement issued by its president and chairman of the council, Pius Olariwaju, the institute emphasized that such publications are intended to disrupt ongoing reforms and undermine the steady progress made in strengthening the financial system. Now, aligning with the Central Bank of Nigeria, the CIBN urged the public to disregard false narratives and rely solely on information from verified sources. Now, there's more ahead when Money Matters return. We'll break down why the Central Bank of Nigeria is holding interest rates steady again. Stay with us for more details. Now, for the second consecutive time in 2025, the Central Bank of Nigeria has retained the monetary policy rate, which benchmarks interest rate in the country at 27.50%. Now, this decision is part of the outcomes of the Apex Bank 300 Monetary Policy Committee meeting. The CBN Governor, Olayemi Cardoso, reviewed that the committee retained the cash reserve ratio at 50% and liquidity ratio at 30%. TV360's correspondent, Tamilore Akinkolie, has more details on the outcome of the CBN's MPC briefing in this next report.
The CBN governor says the decision to maintain MPR at 27.50% was unanimous and reflects a conservative policy stance aimed at consolidating the effects of earlier tightening measures. He also said the committee noted the relative improvements in some key macroeconomic indicators, which are expected to support the overall moderation in prices in the near to medium term, such as the narrowing gap between Nigeria's forex market and BDC windows, as well as easing price of PMS.
Retain the MPR at 27.50%. 2. Retain the asymmetric corridor around the MPR at plus 500 to minus 100 basis points. 3. Retain the cash reserve ratio of deposit money banks at 50% and merchant banks at 16%.
Referencing the latest inflation figures released by the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS), which eased to 23.71% in April 2025, down from 24.23% recorded in March, Cardoso commended the federal government's efforts in boosting food supply and addressing insecurity in farming communities, noting that these steps contributed to moderation in food inflation. However, the committee also acknowledged ongoing inflationary pressures, including high electricity tariffs, persistent foreign exchange demand, and lingering structural issues in the economy.
This improvement was driven by both the oil and non-oil sectors, with the services sector being the major contributor. Gross external reserves increased by 2.85% to $38.90 billion as at 16th of May 2025, from $37.82 billion at end of March 2025.
On the broader economic outlook, the CBN governor said the naira has become more competitive, attracting increased interest from foreign investors and boosting confidence in the economy. While acknowledging the challenges faced by the current leadership over the past 18 months, Cardoso assured Nigerians that ongoing reforms are geared towards correcting past policy missteps and restoring public trust in the central bank.
There are a lot of areas that we literally need to reset completely and start all over again. And we are doing so. But those things do take time. They do take time. But what I want to assure you is that we will be consistent as we have been over the past 18 months. And we believe that once we continue in that direction, we will be successful in building back the trust that has been so badly eroded over a period of time.
With the Monetary Policy Committee opting for stability over change, all eyes will now be on how inflation and currency markets respond in the coming months. Tamilore Akinkwole, TV360, Lagos.
Now, to unpack this decision and its wider impact, I'm now joined by financial analyst Femi Oladele. Thank you for joining me on the program, Mr. Oladele. Now, why do you think the CBN has chosen to hold the interest rate steady for a second consecutive time, despite moderating inflation? And also, what will you say are the underlying risks it is prioritizing?
Thank you so much, and good morning once again. So I would say that all of the reasons as adduced by the CBN governor are clearly stated and highlighted, but I would say personally that one of the significant reasons would be that it's a learning phase for the CBN, really. Many things are going on in the monetary space, including the fiscal space, and it looks like knowledge is a bit out of touch and we want to learn what is happening. So I believe that significantly, while they might say, oh, inflation figures are going well, FX demands, and there's a bit of stability in FX and all of that, I believe more significantly is the fact that it's a learning phase and you want stability when you are learning. And so that's, in my opinion, what the CBN is doing at this time. They want to understand the effect of all of those policies and see how they impact the economy before they now shake the tables. That's what's, in my opinion, is the reason for the retention at this time.
All right, so speaking of learning phase, after 6 rate hikes that we saw in 2024, now what does this double oath suggest about the CBN's monetary policy outlook? Would you also call it a learning phase, and also about its confidence in current inflation trends that we've seen so far this year?
So generally, 2024, I would say, is a roller coaster for Nigeria. Generally, we saw unprecedented figures and it was out of touch. Many people, many analysts were shocked by the results that we saw last year, but this year has been quite stable. And I would say generally that it shows that the CBN is also learning quickly. So I wouldn't call it in this sense right now a learning phase anymore, but I would believe that they are learning quickly and understanding how things work generally in Nigeria, especially when we have just recently rocked the boat. Because at that time, many things were happening. There was heightened political tension. Security was a big deal, especially in the food-producing areas, Benue and Plateau. There was also the issue with people having not come out of the shock of the elections. And so many things were happening at the same time. And then we now brought in the monetary policy reforms, which didn't sit well. And that's why I believe we had those significant distortions or instability in those figures. But right now, I would say that they have learned significantly and they are understanding the terrain very much and handling it well. I would highlight two things that I see, especially with respect to what is happening now. We see significantly in the fiscal space that a lot of activities and policies, including programs, are going on, helping to stabilize the economy, although they are not achieving the expected results. Expected, I mean now, from the masses. We want inflation to go to single digits, if you ask me. We also want FX to go to maybe $1 to, let's say, 500 naira, but that's not. So that's the expectation bits that I'm talking about. But we also understand that things are generally improving. Generally, I say generally carefully because there are still things that are quite, and the CBN governor also noted it. You recall that he mentioned about electricity. It's a significant issue. Even internet access and so many other things, health services and all of that. Although we understand that there is a growth trajectory for the pharmaceutical industry in Nigeria based on research. But looking at it generally, we have seen improvements and a bit of stability. And I think that that's a very good one for the economy at this time.
Right, so let's now speak about the organized private sector. They've raised concerns about retaining the MPR consecutively. Now, what will you say are the likely effect of sustained high interest rate on credit access now for businesses, especially SMEs and manufacturers?
Thank you. So many times retaining the MPR does not necessarily mean that the finance cost will be retained. It does not mean that to be retained at all. So now we have 27.5%. It does not mean that when you go to the bank, if you had a previous loan of 33%, it doesn't mean that it's going to be stable at 33%. It's even likely to increase because the retention does not mean that things are slowing down. If it was a reduction, then we could say, oh, the rates would be retained. But now that we have a retention, I fear that some facilities would even receive increased rates, and that's not too good for businesses. So while it looks like retention on face value, for businesses, it actually means a bit of uncertainty or risk. And I fear that some facility holders will begin to reach out to their debtors to say, see, we are increasing this rate a bit. They won't increase so much. So I don't expect a significant increase in rates. They're looking at maybe between 1 to 2% just to ensure that there is a bit of stability also for them. But it increases finance costs, in my opinion. I am expecting that there will be a little bit of increase, and that also affects productivity, that affects access. That if you want to take a new loan, you wouldn't be taking it at the rate you took the last one. So I believe that it impacts especially small businesses. And when you now combine it with the fact that we live in a collateralized economy where your cash flows don't necessarily matter in getting access to significant finance. So I fear that it's going to slow down borrowings.
All right, now, speaking about effectiveness and retention, do you think the current MPR of 27.50% is still effective in curbing inflation, or is it now doing more harm than good to real sector productivity, I meant to say, bearing in mind that the main reason why they kept on increasing MPR last year was because inflation was over 30%. So now that it has reduced, do you think it's still very effective in curbing inflation?
So I have significant reservations with the inflation figures. You know, I earlier mentioned one time that I don't know the methodology, I mean the intricacies of the methodology used to just change those figures from the previous methodology. But I have reservations, even with respect to the inflation figures that were recently released. But let's leave my reservations. But the truth now is that if you consider that the reason why we're pegging the MPR to inflation figures and other economic indices is to see how to manage inflation. I don't think that MPR alone is enough to manage inflation. I had mentioned it many times that for public policy, you cannot use just one metric or one system to change the entire thing. It needs so many things. There will be political factors, there will be economic factors, there will be social factors. And I had mentioned also that Nigerians are perceptive. So just hearing about it alone can change things, swing either ways. And so I wouldn't say that retaining it at 27.5% does any significant difference to the inflation figures if we don't address those other factors that are significant in managing inflation. I've mentioned them: infrastructure, energy, security. If those things are not dealt with significantly, there is no magic that the MPR would do to that.
All right, now let's speak about the high cash reserve ratio of 50% on commercial banks and overall liquidity in the economy. What will you say are the short and medium-term implications of maintaining such a high cash reserve ratio? It's like about 50%. Do you think it's a good one?
So I don't think it's not good. The reason why, because it's also moderated. If you retain that at 50% and for merchant banks at 16%, there's also a moderation. So having that, I don't think it's a high figure really, because if commercial banks want to access more than that, they know how to do that. And so that figure is actually, in my opinion, it's more theoretical than practical. In the practical sense, if there is a need to reduce that figure, even the bankers committee know what to do. And so that won't be a problem at all. In my opinion, I think it's more theoretical than practical. I mean, the figure.
Now, how effective do you think the monetary policy alone is in addressing Nigeria's inflation? I know you already mentioned that it is not very effective. Now, let's look at structural issues like electricity pricing and food supply constraints, and most importantly, insecurity. What other things do you think the government needs to do to put a balance between the MPR and other things to maintain inflation, basically?
Okay, so aside the real sector that I've mentioned, enhancing, improving infrastructure, improving energy, but when we talk about improving energy, we also have the responsibility of higher costs, and higher cost translates to higher rates for consumers as well. And then we look at other areas that we are currently having difficulty: data costs. We know what is happening in that area at this time. And so when you look at all of them together with the MPR, then a difference can be made. And that's why I said that we shouldn't look at the MPR in isolation, because in isolation, it can do little. If we imagine we are doing it theoretically and we run a regression analysis, the percentage control that MPR has over inflation will be very insignificant if we exclude all of those other factors. And so I don't think we should focus on isolating the MPR. Yes, that's the issue for discussion in this interview, and I understand that it's important that we discuss its impact. But more significantly, I think we should take it as a whole and not just the MPR alone. The MPR can do significantly if other assumptions are met. Right now, where we are in Nigeria at this time, we haven't met those thresholds for the MPR to begin to pull numbers that would ensure that the inflation rate goes down significantly. And so if you ask me what else can the government do, I would say that aside the real sector, if you look at what rent is doing at this time, you would understand. And many states are beginning to raise concerns that landlords are increasing rates, and the landlords' argument are that the economy is also difficult. So go and talk to the government. And so if we don't address structural issues, there is nothing the MPR can do. Even if we choose to reduce the MPR to 20%, which I know that won't happen, if we choose to reduce it to 20%, it won't automatically have the inflation figures. So in isolation, it can do just little, in my opinion.
All right, so now one of the things the CBN governor mentioned during the MPC meeting was the fact that the Naira has become competitive against the United States dollars. Now, to what extent would you say the CBN's current policy stance has contributed to exchange rate stability and also foreign investors' confidence? Because according to him, many investors have been coming into the country.
Yes, so but my question would be as what? As FPI or as FDI? Because we need to make those distinctions. Yes, I understand that investors have been coming, but how have they been coming? Because we cannot rely on FPIs alone. We need FDI. It takes time. And I've mentioned this, and I'm an advocate for patient capital in Nigeria. If we don't have patient capital, it will be very difficult for us to develop. You can't develop you can't develop the real sector with short-term investments. We need investment into the long term. And I give an example of mortgage. You see mortgages in other clients for 25 years. But in Nigeria, when you talk about access to finance, you're looking at 12 months, 1 year, 2 years. That cannot give us the kind of spin-off that we need. And so we have to look at that in that area. And so if I would profile a solution, I would say that we need enough significantly sufficient patient capital where people can now build. Yes, investors are coming in, but are they patient enough to ensure that we build an ecosystem that can sustain itself, or they're just going to come in and pull out after a few months or maybe 1 to 2 years? That's not good for our economy. And I hope that the CBN is doing its best to monitor the inflows and not just have those inflows come in and go out at will. I'm really hoping that we get FDIs to develop our real sectors.
All right, so briefly, just before I let you go, do you think there are any risk of over-tightening the economy, especially with such elevated interest rates and restricted liquidity?
No, I don't think so. But in the next MPC meeting, I'm hoping that rates will be reduced. This is my own hope, that the rates will be reduced so that it gives a bit of, because we are looking at a 2025 where we make more impact, especially in the MSME sector. And if that is to be done, then we need more access to finance. And if we need access to finance, we need them to be affordable also, so that you can ensure that we can produce well and also contribute significantly to the economy. So I don't think we should be looking at tightening anymore, and so we should be looking at reducing the rates in the coming days.
Well, we'll keep monitoring what the CBN will do ahead of the next MPC meeting. Financial analyst Femi Oladele, many thanks for lending your thoughts on the program.
It's a pleasure to be here again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, that's it on this episode of the program. Many thanks for joining us. I'm Okpeyemi Obosheni. See you next time.
There are many sad and dark events in human history, but none devastated the African continent like slavery. To understand some of the plight those who were sold into slavery went through, one must visit Goree Island, their last point of departure from the African continent to the New World. boarding the ferry to Goree Island. This is no slave ship, but it is no less built to capacity. But this time, with goods, tourists, traders, and for a hint of Noah's Ark, some animals, even though there are not two of each kind. Slavery ended more than 153 years ago. One can't help but feel sadness just walking the streets, trying to imagine what went through the minds of these citizens of various countries as they were hauled, sold, and shipped to a strange new world. Where did these slaves come from?
At that time, each African ethnic group had its price. And the most expensive ethnic group used to be the Yoruba. Yeah, they were from Nigeria. Because those Yoruba were very strong and tough, and they worked very hard in the plantations. That's why they were more expensive. They took those kids for two reasons. First, because in the plantations in America, there were some special jobs, typically for the kids, and they did them very well. And then because of most of those kids were from the parents very strong, because they saw that when they will grow up, they will be strong like their parents. That's why they took them. In all the 28 slave houses in Goree Island, the slave masters have the right to sleep with the young girls. Once a young girl was pregnant, she became free here in Goree Island or in Saint Louis in northern Senegal. But she wasn't totally free because usually she worked as domestic slave in the European houses, That's why some of the young girls found a kind of interest to be pregnant from white masters so they can be free. At that time, the price of a man was up to his weight and his muscles. So the minimum weight for men was 60 kilos. Those who have less than 60 kilos, they put them in this special cell just in order to fatten them up. Let me tell you that they did not buy slaves with money. It was exchange. For example, to buy a man up to 60 kilos or a virgin girl, you could give a gun or a barrel of wine or a blanket or something like that. To buy a child, you could give a mirror or a necklace or a piece of tobacco or something like that. So that's why people used to say that Africans also were involved into the slave trade, because some of the African tribal chiefs were collaborating with the Europeans.
Yeah.
And here, this is a punishment room for rebels. Those who fought against their masters, they put them inside to punish them. As you can see, they could not stand up inside because of the hooks. 4 or 5 people at the same time in this small room. In 1991, we welcomed in this house Nelson Mandela. And then Mandela came inside. He stayed in for about 5 minutes. But when he came out, Mandela was crying. Right, and that you have the waiting rooms. The slave used to wait here before the shipment. at the famous door of no return. Because once the slave got out from this door, it's mean bye-bye Africa. They took them to America and they never come back. Because of the rocks, the boat could not come near. That's why from this door, they built a kind of palm wooden bridge as a wharf. But during every shipment, some of them tried to escape by jumping into water, but they never could go far because either they were killed by the security guards or they were eaten by the sharks. Why the sharks? Because at the time, in all the 28 slave houses in Gorée Island, once a slave got sick, just to avoid the epidemics, they threw him into water and that attracted the sharks. That's why there were a lot of sharks around the island. Let me tell you that slavery lasted in Gorée Island from 1536 to 1848, more than 300 years. And during that time, there were about 15 to 20 million slaves coming from all over the African western coast. They transit through Gorée Island to America, and 6 million of them died because of bad treatment. 6 million. Very emotional, but he knows it very, in a higher level, the history and the relationships between Africa and other countries, and also he knows exactly what's happened between the 16th until 19th. I'm talking about the slavery and the Atlantic slave trade.
Walking away from the island, there are some pretty paintings on the street walls. One must ask, what have these walls seen, or what cries have they heard over the last 300 years? Somehow, I don't want the real answers to that question. Maybe you do.
If the essence of government is the security and welfare of the people, then as long as there's plenty, poverty is evil. Affluent poverty. That's what we live in Nigeria. We're living in affluent poverty. The news recently broke that a British international primary school, charter house located somewhere in Lekki, Lagos, was charging as much as 42 million per annum as school fees for its pupil in a poor country like ours. However, the school management issued a statement clarifying the claim that the school fees are currently 26 million naira per annum and not 42 million. Oh boy, now wow. 26 million as school fees per annum for Pekin when they primary school in a poor country like Nigeria, where many states can't even pay 30,000 naira as minimum wage. And many of our public schools in the country are public slums. And unemployment rate is frightening as fraud is now celebrated as a profession. 26 million. Well, I know some of you will go to defend them now. They say if education is expensive, try ignorance. And others will say, well, it's the school is attended by expatriate, kids of expatriate. Even at that, not before Nigeria that they make the money, whether they pay the expatriate salary. Must education be beyond the poor in a country like Nigeria, where ostentatious lifestyle is the attitude of government? So if you pay 26 million naira for a kid in primary school, that means you go pay 62 million naira for that kid in secondary school. And maybe 112 million for the same child when he enter university. And then the child will graduate, there won't be jobs. And then you send the child abroad. Is that not overhead? Go to countries like Poland, Germany, Czech Republic. Charles University and the University of Warsaw are some of the cheapest universities where top-tier programs are offered at an affordable rate. Although universities in all the Nordic countries are relatively affordable, but public universities in Norway remain free for everybody from both within and outside the EU, with the exception of a few specialized programs. But here in Nigeria, go to Edo University in Iyamo. It is ranked as the most expensive state-owned university in Nigeria. Yet, the other state university, Edo State University in Ekpoma, under the previous administration of Godwin Obaseki, suffered from lack of infrastructure and adequate funding until the recent administration in Edo. So what that means is simply this: rich separated themselves from the poor. Now, wow. How many people still remember, the craze those days about British International School? But with the current school fees of 4.6 million and 6.8 million, for boarding, I guess the super rich now, when they pay 26 million as school fees of primary school children, would think, oh, that's poor. So came Chatham House, and yet government go look the other way in a poor country. We know job despite the expensive school, and you expect people not to steal? Yeah, well, what am I even saying? What can government do? When even Nile University in Abuja, where most of our government officials and Abuja politicians, they go get their degree, especially in law, no come cheap. And even some churches, when collect tithe and offering from members to build schools, most of these members that contributed the tithe and offering cannot afford to send their children to these schools. So what do you expect? Even recently, remember Wigwe University in Isiokpo in Rivers State was in the news, not for the death of its founder, but as the most expensive university in Nigeria, with school fees ranging from 12 million naira. And some of these fees are priced in dollars. And our government is pretending to be looking for solution to our dollar problem, while they turn a blind eye to this open segregation in a country where our collective welfare is supposed to be their responsibility. Oh boy, to your tent, oh Israel. You won't blame them though. Don't you see how we openly spray monies in parties as if money is going out of faction? So that's why they think we are rich. Yet, there are no roads to our villages and insecurity is ravaging the country. Even as our public officials drive around our dilapidated road and public slums in exotic and expensive cars, the cars will neither produce nor assemble here. Yet, with retinue of aides and barrage of mobile police, where the future generations are either emerged in prostitution, hookup, or fraud, I beg no verse, yahoo, as a means of livelihood. Outrageous display of affluent poverty, you would say. This is the reason why some properties without any special infrastructure around them in some area, some area never get road, apart from the fact that there's so much money to waste, are so expensive and priced in dollars in places like Maitama, Sokoro, and environs in Abuja, and Banana Island, and in some places in Lagos, in a poor country like Nigeria, than properties in Miami waterfront in rich America. So no matter how much we all condemn or criticize these things, it will not go away, because the reality is that most Nigerians want to be like these people who are physically rich but mentally poor. As we only criticize them when we are poor, but the moment we become rich or hold public office, we will create segregation, poor and the rich. We move over to expensive slums like Lekki, send our children to special schools, meant only for the rich, occupy government positions and steal public funds, ride expensive cars without identifiable or sustainable means of livelihood, and display wealth irresponsibly and spray endlessly at parties. That's just our life. So, it no go stop. So if I lie, anyway, check those occupying public offices today. Between 15 and 12 years ago, they were mostly critics of the attitude of the government then. But today, they are all in government and repeating exactly what they once criticized, even if not even worse. So I will therefore advocate until we see government as a vehicle for public good, social justice, creating job opportunities, infrastructural development, equality, and a vehicle for impacting our community positively, people will continue to chase wealth, material possession, and position as a way of life and end up not living at all. Government must take job creation as a priority and endeavor to consciously and consensuously celebrate and compensate hard work and create regulation in every sector to avoid a society of wealth without work. The attitude where government officials are at the forefront of displaying affluence in the midst of poverty must be discouraged as it pushes people to acquire wealth without work. Lastly, our orientation should help improve our mindset to the fact that voluntary and selfless service helps write our name in gold in the sand of time. That even when we die, our name will be so engraved in the heart of the world that time will never erase it. Well, I don't want to talk too much. Make I pause and here to enable you make your own contribution in all our social media platforms shown on your screen. Also help us to share the message so that we can collectively change our society. For no matter how expensive education is, without commensurate effort to promote and create job opportunities, you will still end up as poor. No be me talker. Remember, the luxuries of today are the necessities of tomorrow. See you next week.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
Because when you go into public office, you must be ready to answer to the people.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
Many thanks for joining us again on the newsroom. I'm Victoria Konde, and these are the headlines we're tracking at the moment. Unidentified gunmen have kidnapped a 76-year-old retired major of the Nigerian Army, Joe Ajayi, from his residence in Kababunu local government area of Kogi State. Ajayi, a former chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN Kababunu chapter, was reportedly abducted around 11:30 p.m. on Wednesday. Speaking to newsmen, a local source said the criminals invaded the area and fired sporadic gunshots for over an hour before whisking the retired army officer away to an unknown destination. Still on security, Nigerian troops of Operation Adinkai have neutralized 7 suspected Boko Haram and ISWAP terrorists in separate operations in Ran and Damboa areas of Borno State. Zagozala Makama, a counter-insurgency expert focused on the Lake Chad region, disclosed this in a post on his X handle on Thursday. Makama said he was informed by intelligence sources that the first encounter occurred on Wednesday when troops of 3 Battalion, in conjunction with hybrid forces and civilian joint task force, engaged the terrorists. Moving to political matters, another member of the Labour Party in the House of Representatives, Sunday Umeya, on Thursday defected to the All Progressives Congress APC. Umeya, who represents Eziagu Federal Constituency of Enugu State, said he was leaving the Labour Party as a result of the protracted crisis that has given rise to 3 different factions laying claim to the leadership of the party. And Senate President Godswill Akpabio on Thursday reiterated the National Assembly's unwavering commitment to supporting the National Space Research and Development Agency, describing the agency as pivotal in addressing Nigeria's security and socio-economic challenges. Represented by Senator Samson Ekong, Akpabio made the pledge during the agency's 2025 top management retreat held in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. His remarks were convened in a statement issued in Abuja by the agency's Director of Media and Corporate Communications, Felix Ale. In the world of business, the Dangote Petroleum Refinery has announced a fresh reduction in the pump price of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, across the country, with new rates now ranging from 875 naira to 905 naira per litre, depending on location. The new price regime, which marks a 15 naira reduction per litre across all regions and partner retail outlets, was posted on the official social handle of Dangote Refinery on Thursday. Switching to the global scene, the Democratic Republic of Congo Senate will on Thursday debate lifting the immunity of ex-President Joseph Kabila, who the government accuses of supporting a Rwandan-backed militia in the mineral-rich East. A vote in favor could expose the 53-year-old to prosecution on charges of supporting the M23 armed group, which has seized swathes of the eastern DRC with Rwandan support. Finally, on sports, the long-standing rivalry between Africa's star Quadri Aruna and South American maestro Hugo Calderano will be reignited at the 2025 ITTF World Championships in Doha. The 2 continental giants are set to meet the 4th round of the men's singles on Thursday. Both players have become icons of table tennis in their respective regions with impressive global achievements that have earned them legendary status. Those are the major stories from our newsroom at this moment. We'll keep you updated at 6 p.m.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
When you go into public office, you must be ready to answer to the people.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything.
Hello and welcome to another electrifying episode. E360 is back with more exciting content than ever before, and I am your host Queen, bringing the latest in the world of entertainment, fashion, comedy, food, anything you can think of entertainment. I got you covered. So before we go into what we have today, let's take the latest news in the world of entertainment. So last weekend we had the African Magic Viewers Choice Award, and it's been amazing seeing our own Nigerian celebrities nailing it with their outfits, with what they know how to do best, likes of our actors and actresses being nominated for specific categories. And I'm really happy seeing everyone even being recognized for what they do. So first on the list, let me just talk about the category. Two categories that stood out for me. We had the Indigenous Award, Language Award, which went to Lishabi. If we've all seen that movie, you know that they literally deserve the award. This Lishabi is beautiful. The content and everything was just amazing. Like seeing them being recognized, like they put so much work into it, likes of Latif and his wife. Like his wife even played a role in this movie, and you even notice that he's like, maybe they're married or something. Like everything was really amazing. They nailed it for me, and they deserve the award. I was really happy that they got recognized for this particular category. So the next one that actually got my attention is Seven Doors. Trust me, the actors of Seven Doors, likes of Femi and Choma, they nailed it, and it was just amazing because Choma, his wife, is an Igbo lady in the movie, and he's a Yoruba man, and he had to go leave the city to go back to the village to maybe rule, to be the king of the community at that point in time. But he had issues. If you guys have not seen it, please go back and see it, because this movie nailed. And it's really amazing seeing Choma. Choma did not just start now. Like she has been in this industry for a very long time. Like since I was little, I know Choma, and I'm really happy seeing her. She won the best lead actress for this movie, and also him, so he won the best lead actor. Like I'm really happy seeing them actually excel in this particular category. So now moving away from the category, let's go to the outfits. Trust Nigerians to always come through. Like Nigerians are good. We are talented. I don't know what you guys talk about, but like everybody is just, all these designers, they just have one or two things they always want to chip in. Let's just say Vicky James. Vicky James every year comes out with her own designs, and guess her favorite muse? It is Osas. Osas' dress was beautiful. I don't know if the nature of the let's just say the theme for the AMVCAs this year was nature, because I saw so many designers trying to create nature, trees, fruits and other things, but Osas nailed it. She was styled by Vicky James. We have another one which was actually contradicting. That's Desmond Elliott. Desmond Elliott came out and was like, who is this? Like, we've not seen you, so where are you coming from? Like, it was very funny, but his outfit was good. It's not that bad. But everyone kept on talking about the lion in front of him and one at the back. It was really amazing seeing them actually excel. So last on the list, we have our very own Davido, our OBO. Davido's album, all the songs for me nailed. Like the one that actually I like the most is With You, where he featured Omale, and that song is just amazing. I don't know, and I like Davido for the fact that he's a calm person, he's full of life, he's generous. He even gifted a TikToker that actually just danced to his song, like just flowed with it and everything. It was very funny, but it was amazing. And Davido is always giving us back-to-back hits. So that's it we have for entertainment. So today we dive into the world of fashion industry. So sit down and relax. Let's explore the magic screen together. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Here with me in the studio is Akin Oluwasewu, who is a fashion content creator and a stylist. Hello and welcome to the show.
Hi, good to be here. Yeah,
nice meeting. I love your outfits. Like it's giving like what you do. Literally, it's amazing.
Thank you
I like the glasses, signature on the tie and everything, and the colors. You know what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so tell me about yourself. How did you get into the fashion creation and everything? You styling it and all. Just tell me a bit about yourself.
So yeah, just like you said, my name is Akin Oluwasewu.
Okay.
Most people know me as Akin certified.
Oh, good.
And I am a fashion content creator and a fashion stylist.
Okay.
What my motivation for getting into the fashion space. Like I've always been a fashion person, like way back since when I was young.
Yeah.
But like it got more pronounced when I was in school, like uni.
Okay.
I just loved looking good to class, basically. You know, because I went to a private school.
Oh, okay,
so
okay.
I know.
You had a good advantage there.
Exactly. So I went to a private school, and we were almost, let me say, forced to wear corporate clothes to school and all of that. So that's what sparked up the interest more in me.
Okay.
And also, I feel like the use of social media also influenced me a lot.
To show
When I saw so many people that were doing what I wanted to do, what I felt like I could do.
Okay.
And those are some of the things that sparked the interest more in me.
Oh, that's
like,
good.
for fashion.
So now let's talk about your education. Like you talked about, you started from school. So did you study fashion, or what did you do? Because I know most people like to just deviate from what they actually study. We all do that, it's fine. But like, just tell me what you did and what actually attracted you to go into what you're doing now.
So I studied architecture in school.
Oh.
BSc, MSc.
Is there like a connection? Yeah, there may be a connection.
Exactly. So I believe anybody that goes to architecture school, it's kind of sparks some form of creativity in you into whatever you are doing.
Okay.
Either if you're designing furniture, if you end up doing whatever, even if it's fashion, there's some form of creativity that architecture brings into you. So I feel like so what I studied in a way, even though I'm not actively practicing now, so it kind of sparked something in me. So I studied architecture in school.
Oh, that's good. So what would you describe your styling in 3 words?
So my style, I would say dandy. I would say prim and proper.
Wow, that's good. That's good. So tell me what fashion item you can't live without.
I'll say my suits.
Your suits?
Yes, my suits.
Now I know where the corporate thing comes from.
I'll say my suits. I have so many suits. Like it's literally my life. Like,
okay.
So suits. I can't live without suits.
Okay. So will you tell me about you coming up and the influencers you get to or you saw that actually attracted you, or people you look up to?
Okay, good question. So just like I said earlier, like social media kind of influenced me getting into fashion. So some people I looked up to while I was like in my early years were people like Akin Famino. I don't know if you know Akin Famino. Is a major stakeholder in the fashion content creation space. Okay. But outside Nigeria, like internationally, there's Blake Scott, there's Steve Onoja. Those are the people I looked up to. And to the glory of God.
You've been nailing it. Okay, good. So now tell me what inspired you to start sharing your fashion content online.
Okay, so I have always loved social media. So I just saw social media as a platform for me to show what I do. To voice out without doing too much. And that's why till now, like if you've gone through my content, I hardly talk too much.
I've not seen one. I actually went through. I'm like, wait, I need to hear your voice. I don't know how you sound.
Exactly. So I just saw social media as a means to, put myself out there without doing too much. It's more of like my portfolio.
So let's say, what's the most defining moment of your life or of your career? Like when you started, what moment did you really say, "Oh, I did this"?
So So for me in fashion, there have been so many defining moments. But like in the early years, I would say winning awards in university for fashion, like best dressed in my department, best dressed in the school. Do you understand? So those were some of the, and I've been recognized by so many well-known blogs, even in Nigeria, Bella Niger. I've been featured on Vogue too. So like I feel like that's like the peak
of where.
Yes.
That's good. So like tell me about how you balance being creative and staying relevant, like keeping up with everything you have to do, keeping up with your daily life as a content creator and also a stylist.
So for me,
do you find any difficulty anywhere?
Definitely there will be difficulties.
So tell us about it. So in case we want to be like Oluwase, what do we do?
So just like I said, definitely there are difficulties. But I feel one thing that makes you, keep pushing is just the goal you have in mind. And there is nothing that has an advantage that does not have a disadvantage. So for me, it's just me looking at the end goal and saying, oh, let me persevere through this. Let me do all I need to do to get to become the kind of person I want to be. So like it helps me, be able to maneuver these obstacles in my way. And yeah, so on so many days I have multiple things on my schedule and all of that, but I just find a way to properly manage my time, you know, to meet up with all of this, and also deadlines, basically. Yeah.
That's good. I know, like, it must have been really, really stressful, but like, can you walk us through one day, like a day in your life, the process, what you have to do? Do you style your clothes yourself, your outfits?
Yes, I do.
Would you have someone that styles you?
No, I style right.
Do you style people too?
Yeah, I style people.
Oh, good. So, like, just walk us through you meeting deadlines and you taking pictures, because I don't know. I feel it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Like, one thing I know, maybe styling it and you actually waiting for it to come out the way you want it to be. So, like, the positions you stay when you're taking pictures and creating content and all like that. So, walk us through a day in your life.
Okay. So, as a fashion content creator, I feel Pinterest should be your friend. You know, because I feel like there's no idea that is really original. So you can always go through Pinterest. So let me use myself now, just like yours. I always go through Pinterest, you know, scroll sometimes when I see things I like or feel like I see things I feel like I could recreate, I save them, you know. But there's sometimes the ideas just come like off the top of my head, like I'm just doing something, I just pass through somewhere, I see something, I see someone online, I see someone wearing something online, or just the combination just makes sense. Like, yeah, there's that too, and there's just me just being myself, and trying to evolve on what I'm already doing. You understand? So like right now, like my kind of style, it has evolved over the years. Not just from like corporate outfits. Like now, the way I am, it's kind of, you could say it's kind of corporate, but it's not corporate.
Casual corporate, like in the mix.
Exactly, so it's a mix. So it has kind of evolved over the years. So like a typical day in my life is when it comes to like fashion content creation is, you know, ideation, reaching out to, I have like a team, like my photographers, majorly photographers, because I love,
must be really good.
Yes, so and they're also very creative people, so we rub ideas together, let us know what we need, either if there are some props you also need, you know, try to put it in place, get it before the day of the shoot, and we shoot, and even on set there are some other ideas that pop up.
They have to.
Yes, I also implement into, and that's how we make it happen.
It seems like a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot.
It's like, you know, when people just see a picture, wow, this is beautiful, this is good. They don't know the process. They don't know how difficult it was to go through just to achieve that result. Now let's talk about you combining colors. Trust me, not everybody in Nigeria literally knows how to do that. Not everybody in the world, like, just so both colors that you're like purple and orange. How would this go about? How have you been able to maneuver that phase?
So for me, I would say it's just my kind of person. I've never had to think about, will this color go or not. I've never really had to do.
Sorry to cut you. Have they been in a situation where you see yourself say, this color did not gel?
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just really my kind of person. So so many times if I feel something will work, it actually just works. I don't know how, to be honest. It might be God. It might be
God is good.
It's even God. I credit that to God, you know. So like so many times I just try out things, try out colors, and also as an advice to people, I'll just say, you know, try out different things in the comfort of your home. Don't now go out and be looking like tetracycline in front of other people. So you can, like, your house is like your comfort zone where you can try out things. Let your family members insult you.
Oh, good. I was about to ask that.
Exactly. Let your family members insult you before you go outside and embarrass yourself. Exactly.
Okay, because living alone maybe and you're trying to match colors, you may not exactly get
your mirror. Your mirror is there for you.
Oh, your mirror is there, but sometimes
and open your eyes.
Sometimes you look at yourself like, I think I look good, but when you step out, you don't look good at all. So now tell me how you've been able to, how social media has changed the way you work as a stylist.
Well, social media actually has so many benefits, and it has really helped me. You know, it gave me some form of influence. And the reason is because I actually started early enough. I started way back in 2015. Not so many people were doing this back then.
Not everybody.
Exactly. Not so many.
It's also a thing.
Exactly. So in like the university space, people actually knew me. Like when you talk about people in Covenant, people in Redeemers, these are people that actually do fashion at that time. So many of them knew me at that point. So social media has really changed and helped me like with my style and how I really approach things in general. Like I would give so much credit to to social media.
Okay. Yes. So now speaking of social media, what platform do you use the most and why?
Majorly Instagram.
Okay, why
because
Instagram?
That's where I started
it's a
from.
Good platform,
it's a good platform, and that's where I started from. Just when Instagram first started, it was majorly for pictures. There was no even video. It's just I think 2020 that they started reels and all of this, and so just like that, I also tried to evolve and advance, and start creating video content also because if you don't evolve, you won't be relevant. Do you understand? So I started evolving also, start creating video content on social media. So yeah, Instagram works for me the most. But right now I'm trying to I'm already doing that. I'm already trying to diversify my platforms. Yeah, TikTok, Pinterest. Because I got to I got to discover last year that there's actually a very big market on Pinterest.
So you'd have been yelling that.
Exactly. So I'm doing that right now.
That's good. I like the fact that you're evolving and you're changing, and social media is helping you to become better in your field. So let's go on a quick break. We'll be right back. We've got a quick break, guys. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Here with me in the studio is still our stylist and our fashion content creator. So now tell me about, have you faced any criticisms online and how have you been able to manage it? Because I know the word out there is not easy for anybody, but tell me how you've been able to maneuver and just keep pushing regardless.
So because of my kind of personality, I have not really faced criticism that much because I believe I was using platforms like X, which was formerly Twitter, I would have received a lot of even when I know I talked about diversifying my content. Yeah. And there are sometimes I post something on TikTok on X and you see some kind of comments that are just really But on Instagram everybody's all over light.
Yes,
everybody's all over light. So I've never really had to face that form of criticism, and because of my kind of person, I don't like putting myself in a situation where I am in that place where people will have different
things to say about you.
About me now. So,
okay.
I believe it's just my kind of person.
Oh, that's good. So, who is your favorite fashion icon now, and why?
Well, my favorite fashion icon, I believe it's not one currently.
Okay, just mention and why.
Okay, so Pharrell Williams.
Okay.
Pharrell Williams is a grand commander of style. Grand commander of style.
And I agree to that.
Yes, and I believe our kind of styles are similar, so that's why I connect more with Pharrell Williams.
Now I'm drawing the line. Now I'm drawing the line in your pictures. Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's good.
So it's Aproki too. Is someone's style that I love a lot. It can be very minimalist. It can be quite edgy too. Yeah. So not giving yourself a box. Is the reason why I like Isaproki. Yeah. So those two.
I like Isaproki as well. So now, if you're going to style any celebrity, who would it be, and what style do you think you would put on them?
Locally or internationally?
Let's do two. Let's do Nigerian and international.
Okay, locally, within Nigeria.
Yeah.
I would like to style the video. I really like to start the video.
It can be fun, so whenever I hear the video, I just want to jump.
I really like to start the video.
In what way?
Putting up something for him that just gives him the superstar vibe. To project him more as a superstar that he is.
Okay.
Yes, because on some occasions, sorry to say, on some occasions I've seen when he has worn some kind of outfit, and I'm like, no, the style should have done better. So yes, that's my reason for choosing Davido.
Okay.
And internationally, let's say Idris Elba. I mean, he has a great sense of style, but it would just be an honor to style someone like that.
It's amazing. It's amazing you mentioning people that I know. No, that's good. That's good. So, what's the most challenging shoot or project you've ever worked on, and why?
Off the top of my head right now, the most challenging shoot. Okay, so just like I mentioned, I've been featured on Vogue once.
Okay.
But it wasn't my idea, it was the photographer's idea.
Okay.
So it was something that brought me out of my comfort zone. Because if you see that picture, I was looking kind of homeless. And because it was an editorial image, just that I wore lace and stuff. So I feel like that kind of that was kind of difficult for me to do because it was not like my normal kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, who doesn't want to be on Vogue? So yeah.
So it was really difficult process.
It was kind of difficult for me, but I believe, but like for like my own personal stuff, I mean in the early stages it used to be quite difficult, but like right now I believe it's almost like it's almost easy for me, like very easy for me to just because I have like a system. Do you understand? That makes things work easier for me.
That's good. I know Lagos is like a fashion zone entirely. So have you been able to attend events and let's just say GTCO Fashion Week and other fashion shows that we have? And have you been able to, do you attend them?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Especially Lagos Fashion Week, because Lagos Fashion Week is one of the biggest fashion weeks in Nigeria. So like it's even like, don't know me, not to talk down anymore, but like it's one of the biggest fashion weeks. So there you get to meet even people you look up to in Nigeria, you know. So I attend Lagos Fashion Week a lot. Every year I've been attending since I think 2019, until even last year, and I'll still attend this year.
Oh, good. So tell me about GTCO Fashion. What do you think about it and the idea behind it? Because last year I got to attend one for my very first time. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I love every single thing happening here. So will you want to be in that position, styling people, and what do you think you will bring up?
You mean styling attendees or styling?
Let's just say styling models.
Models on the runway. I mean, it's something I'm very open to. I mean, GTCO Fashion Week is also a very big fashion week in Nigeria. So yes, it's something I'm very open to. You know, working with a designer to put out their pieces in the best way possible on the runway for everyone to see.
Okay.
Yeah,
so now you creating content like on Instagram and other platforms that you work with. How do you get your inspiration from? Like, do you see not only from Pinterest but the ideas of you creating videos? Like, what do you think? Or is there like a brain box, someone that just says, oh, I think you should work this way? Or do you just bring everything, every idea you do? Because the videos are amazing, trust me. So like you working this particular way, looking up this way, is there someone that directs you? Or you do everything?
So first and foremost, I'm a believer, so I'll give the glory to the Holy Spirit. Like the Holy Spirit helps me a lot, gives me direction on so many things. Yeah, and also, that's why I mentioned the team that I work with. So like, there's just this synergy between us where some of the ideas come from me, some of the ideas come from them, so it's just easier that way. I believe every creative, if you are looking to build a team, you should actually look for people who share the same ideas and who share the same visions like you, so that whatever you're looking to achieve will be easier. And so that's basically what has been helping me. So so many of these videos that you see, they are basically some are my ideas, some are their ideas, and we bring them together.
Because you pass off like a model, like maybe you don't even do anything, but like the way you just position and taking photos and everything. I will call you a model.
Yeah, it took so many years.
Okay.
It took so many years, you know. I believe in my early stages I wasn't that comfortable. Like when I started this, I didn't like taking pictures in public.
Oh.
But right now, if you put me in the middle of the road,
anywhere I can
take pictures easily, like, because that's what I'm born to do.
Okay, but you know, like you standing out, like with your styling and everything, your outfits actually draw attention of people.
Exactly.
So like now you said before you were shy. Were you a shy person?
Yes.
Okay, so you wearing those outfits, it was like.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, to get to a stage, there's a point to do something to a point of mastery, where you are no longer shy.
So you're used to everyone looking at you.
Yes, like I'm already used to it. I've done it a lot of times. I'm already used to it. So yeah.
Oh, okay, that's good. So, what advice we give to anyone trying to go into this fashion content creating business?
So, any advice I'll give, especially to younger people?
Yeah,
I would say start as early as you can, and be consistent, because consistency in anything just makes you better.
Okay.
You get, and the earlier you start, the earlier you can make the mistakes you're supposed to make, which will make you better. Okay. So I'll just say I'll pass out two advices. I'll say start early and be consistent in what you're doing.
Okay. So let's go on a quick break first. We'll be right back. So guys, we'll go on a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, guys. So before we end this show, let's just take 60 seconds, 10 games. Questions rather, just in and out. So let's just say your favorite celebrity couple. Who would it be?
It's Rocky and Rihanna.
Thank you. Most outstanding day of your life?
Most outstanding day of my life?
Yeah.
Most outstanding day of my life has to be... There are so many. Well, let's say the first day I was recognized for what I'm doing right now.
Okay. Yeah. Football or basketball?
Football, basically.
Favorite relaxation sports?
Favorite relaxation in Lagos or anywhere?
Anywhere.
In Lagos, I would say Landmark Beach.
Okay. So, movies or novels?
Movies. I'm a movie person.
Favorite city you like to visit or you have?
Favorite city I would like to visit? Mauritius.
Okay. So, favorite indoor sport?
Favorite indoor sport? Let's say indoor basketball.
Okay. So, favorite food?
Favorite food, jollof rice and chicken.
So, mention one thing on your bucket list you like to tick off.
Favorite thing on my bucket list I would like to tick off, especially this year, is like travel to as many countries as I can.
Okay. So, let's just say sneakers or corporate shoes.
Corporate shoes.
Okay, good. So, if you're giving $10,000 to stay in a well-furnished apartment without anybody for 6 months, just you and food, no internet too, will you stay?
$10,000 to stay. For how many? For how long?
6.
No, I won't. No, I won't.
You won't. Okay, let's reduce. Let's say 2.
2 months.
Okay. Yeah, 2
no
months.
internet, no food.
No internet.
I can run mad.
No, there'll be food.
Okay,
There'll be
food.
good food.
There'll be food?
Yes, but no internet.
No.
No, you can stay.
Because I feel like all I do, like, it gives you some sense of purpose, you know.
True.
So all of that within 2 months, like I can't.
So what if there's internet? You're going to stay?
If there's internet, we are getting there. So, yeah, internet. With internet, I'm good.
No problem. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Welcome. Thank you so much.
It's really nice seeing you and what you do and everything.
Thank you.
So is there anything you want to share?
Yeah.
Where can we watch you? Where do we see you?
Okay, so you can check me out on Instagram. My handle is at akinlolu.certified. I'm also on X. I'm also on every other platform. Yes, so these are the platforms where you can check me out, and it's so nice being here.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on the show. So guys, that's all we can take on this episode. Thank you so much for staying with us. So see you next time. Bye for now.
My name is Bintu Salihu Garba, IGB. From secondary school, I moved on to Kano Polytechnic. That's where I started painting. And I'm happy I was the first female to start painting the Kano State. When I was a child, I used to draw. By then, I didn't know what painting was. I guess you understand what I mean. Then my uncle, then Aledidia, late, he now took us to London. That's where I saw paintings of master's paintings, very beautiful ones at the National Gallery of Art in England. So from there on, I just love painting and I pick up interest from there. But I noticed after every painting, a painter will now inscribe his name at the bottom of the painting. That was what inspired me. I said, oh, I would love to paint and then inscribe my name on that. From there on, I just pick up drawing and then I continue drawing from there. It just assists to painting. Honestly, if you say dominated by men, possibly it is only here in Kano that painting is dominated by men. Other places, women do painting. If you say challenges, there are quite a lot of challenges, but I was able to go through it because the men I'm working with then, they were also helping me to see that as a female, they kept encouraging me, even the lecturers, they encouraged me to paint. So I now pick up painting and I continue doing it, and I truly, really worked hard to get to where I am today. I started teaching drawing. I got employed into Kano State Senior Service Management Board, that is secondary school. So I continue drawing, painting, and then teaching at the same time, and then making money from there because it's a job. It is what I do. You understand? It's what I do. I teach painting, I paint. People tend to commission me for some paintings. Some of them I even say flowers, some fruits, some vegetables, etc. I just continue doing it, and that's how I tend to make it as a business. As I've earlier mentioned, I told you I've been teaching for past decade now. You understand? So I guess I am passing this knowledge down. Now that I've come to this age, I'm in my studio, I allow teenagers to come. I teach them painting free of charge. Some of them, all they do is to buy the materials themselves. And then I do teach them, I do coach them, because you don't teach painting, you coach. It is some talent, like person has talent and then you now coach him, you develop his skill, you understand? So that is what I do now. I get teenagers and even adults, some of them are even interested. They do come to my studio and ask me, "But I would like to paint." Fine and good, since it is what I've been doing for over 30 years now. So I now find it easier to even teach anyone that is even interested in painting. For over 30 years. I cannot tell precisely how many. Like I told you, it is school. I teach in school and I take many classes, you understand? And I've taught in so many schools now in Kano, so many. so many schools, and all of these schools, no class is less than 45 students that I taught. For the past 30 years, that is what I have been doing. So how many I teach now, I cannot tell. But I know I have taught a lot of people painting. The outcome of it now, I can see people are developing interest in painting, and alhamdulillah, they see female in it. People are now coming out to appreciate painting. Like I forgot to mention to you that we have this Society of Nigerian Artists. We are shouting out to people, getting people reaching to them, so that they will now understand painting, and that it is not only drawing, it is a way of life, because some people don't even know that painting is a profession. They don't know it. So now myself and members of the society, we are reaching out to people to get them to understand painting and drawing as well. Over the years, my painting, I delve mostly in culture. Any environment I find myself, I now tend to go into I see the culture, the kind of people that are there, like I now work with what they have there. My painting is mostly culture and educative as well. Anytime we hold an art exhibition, I do sell painting, and besides, when I was in school, visitors used to come and buy my paintings. That is why I lost count of my painting. Then I didn't know I should be counting them. As I'm working, people tend to come in and appreciate the work. By the time I'm working, they will tell me, okay, if you are through with this, I'm going to buy it. Some, by then, I even used to give it free of charge. I didn't know it is something that I should be counting or something I should keep as a sign. But much later now, I come to realize that every piece of my painting is like a child to me. So from there, then, I've started counting them. But the previous one I did, I cannot precisely tell their numbers. Now people are buying art and decorating their houses, and even places of interest now. And if you go around Kano, you will see that there are places that are decorated with paintings. You understand? So that is how we are reaching out to people. Even the government now, they do commission artists to come and do paintings in strategic places like what do you call the recreation centers. Even in hospital, we even have paintings in hospitals where we educate people, you understand, on say a kind of disease. Like now we have this COVID-19 around. You need to see the kind of illustration painters are doing to make it easier for people to understand what they should do and what not to do. Start of COVID-19, honestly, I've been able to make 1 or 2 paintings to illustrate COVID-19 here in Kano using the kind of materials I have around me. For instance, now, okay, it's there behind you, so you can, yes, after I will show it to you. It's something I use, a plant that comes out in ball like this. So I use that kind of plant now. I paint it and I use it and I name it as COVID-19. I would like to advise the government, because anyway, almost everything on earth, people will say government should do something, government should do very well. But would I go to encourage artists and help us appreciate the work of art we do? Anytime they have anything to do with illustration or like kind of needing to inform people about something, we would like them to encourage us artists, to involve us artists to do those kind of things for them, instead of them going outside getting those kind of illustration, billboard around, whatever, where there are artists around. So we like government to encourage us, like they do release funds for agriculture, they release funds for education, they should release funds for visual artists too. They should do that. Yes, government should do that. We also like people to appreciate our work. People should not just sit and say, oh, drawing. Drawing is a way of life. And art is not only drawing. Like you're standing there, you're wearing a hat, a cloth, a long trouser, it's art. You combine things on you to make you to beautify yourself, isn't it? So that is art. Art is a way of life. COVID-19 have affected the patronage very, very well. Yes, it has. But that is not withstanding, that is not stopping us from doing what we're doing, because it is not only foreigners that patronize our paintings. It's not only foreigners. So we are doing what we do, and then, painting, it is something you can do and keep. With time, those foreigners will come. You are a client, you say, I want so thing to be painted. From there, I, as an artist, I will now see and I'll sit down and think of what it is you want. First, if I like, I can make sketch on paper. Then I will now move on. Possibly it is a design you want. You mention the size of the design you want. Then I prepare my canvas. The process in preparing canvas, you need your easel, like what you see here is the easel stand, and then you need canvas, like I told you, this is it. You need, this is a white cloth that we use on it. Then you use emulsion paint to coat it several times so that it will be hard. Then you now use your oil color. If it is oil color, you use or acrylic color. You have so many medium.
Right in the middle of this forest in southwest Ogun State and inside the buildings below, a young generation of farmers in Nigeria is changing the face of farming and attracting young people to a venture many of them had not always liked. And 36-year-old Peter Okocha Jr., or PJ as he's fondly called, is leading the change. An economist by training before branching off into farming, PJ and his team are deploying a unique method of farming known as aeroponics to grow cash crops, starting out here in August of 2017.
What's taking place is that you're seeing agricultural technology. It's a disruptive form of technology. It's called aeroponics, whereby the plants are grown in a soilless medium. Essentially, there's no soil, and the roots of the plants, which are underneath these boxes, are being misted with nutrients and so forth. So everything is within a controlled environment, and it's fully automated as well.
Their focal crop is yam, a very popular edible starchy tuber mainly cultivated in Africa and exported across the world.
The yam subsector of the overall agricultural sector, it's a very lucrative sector. But the problem is that the requisite inputs haven't been applied. And so what we're doing in this program is saying that, okay, we know that there's a sector that currently has a value, according to the Food and Agricultural Organization based in Rome, of about $13 billion US. But with the requisite inputs, the yam subsector will grow from $13 billion to about $19 billion. And this is Nigeria alone. So what we've said is that, okay, we know also that Nigeria accounts for 60% of the global production of yam, but yet we don't have inputs such as seed. And as you know, seeds, or the lab and the seed essentially is the genesis of the agricultural sector. So what we're doing is that in conjunction with IITA, we get clean seeds, essentially from IITA, from the lab, and then we come and we transplant to the system here.
The system is a greenhouse where the yam seeds are grown in this row of boxes using aeroponics, more like growing yams in the air. Now just take a look at these leaves. Every leaf you see here is a potential tuber of yam. So to get a sense of how many tubers of yam we have here, you just have to do a count of all the leaves we have here. It's something very massive.
We have about 10 boxes, and in those boxes, all fully automated aeroponic systems, and it leads to high propagation of plants. And so we're actually massively propagating, and it will continue like this for a 3-year period of just continuous growth, non-stop. After the propagation, what you'll see is that it will essentially form a canopy. It will be very bush-like and so forth. And from there, we'll start vine cutting. And from the vine cutting, we'll cut these. We'll put them into essentially polyethylene bags and with a nutrient solution, and they'll stay in there for about a month. And essentially, what it is that because this is in a controlled environment, we're taking them out and saying, okay, we're preparing you for a month to get used to the external elements. And they'll be there for a month, and then we eventually take them to the field.
This is the field where they are brought and planted into the soil so the seeds could develop fully.
These right now currently have been here for about 3 weeks, and we're still planting now, and they'll be here for a total of about 3 months. And after about 3 months, we'll get seeds of about 250 to about 500 grams. And those are the seeds that we'll provide to farmers. And farmers can then go and plant directly, and it will give them the ware yam sizes of 1 kg, 2 kg and above.
One of the smallholder farmers who's been using the yam seeds from the aeroponics farm is Awofe Ademola. He's been into traditional yam farming all his adult life and says the yam seeds from the aeroponics farm have seen his output more than double and safe from pests.
There's a lot of difference between the two methods because the new method doesn't get infected by pests and it doesn't change color like the traditional planted yams. It will remain fresh as it is wherever it is kept. Their yam when harvested is almost 3 times or 4 times more than ours. When we plant one of our own seed yam, it equates to 4 of theirs.
Habibat Umar is the only female in the group. She's one of those overseeing the day-to-day running of the smart farm. She says she's fascinated by the whole idea of it.
One of the things that fascinates me most is the fact that we can go all year round producing food, more like you can choose God's creation and having to depend on the rain and all. And everybody wants to eat all the time. You don't want to wait for when the rain is here. And so the fact that we can provide the food all year round, it's everything to me.
Even though all may seem fine, PJ and his team are battling familiar challenges to keep their operations running.
More attention needs to be given to the sector. There needs to be more financing put in place. We need to have adequate land laws in place and to ensure that we can optimize all the arable land that we have and so forth. There needs to be insurance. We need to have better road networks. Power is a major impediment as well. Essentially we have our own solar system, as well as the fact that we also have a generator as well for backup. So power cost is also a major impediment as well. So all of these things, if we can put all these things in place, then the sector will boom for sure.
PJ and his team are setting themselves up as role models for young people. In a country where youth unemployment is high, they are hoping to inspire many within their age bracket to take to their kind of farming technique.
We need women to even join this chain, because this is not all about... we've gone past the stage of waiting for men doing it. So why wouldn't I want to be part of it? Like, let people say, oh, she's a woman, she's doing it. Do you understand? So women have to join this chain.
My message for the youth is saying that, listen, with the use of technology and disruptive methods such as this, essentially you can run your farm on your laptop, on your computer and so forth and everything. It's all automated. So essentially this makes agriculture cool. It makes agriculture sexy. You have the technological components to it and so forth and everything. So it's not just the conventional, back-breaking work in the field and so forth and everything like that. There are also these components as well that will make it appealing to the youth. So I say, listen, join me. We have a nation to feed and we have a nation to grow as well.
Hello and welcome to the program. The recent wave of defections by federal opposition lawmakers to the ruling All Progressives Congress is the biggest talking point right now in Nigeria's polity. This comes as the country's major opposition parties, especially the People's Democratic Party, the Labour Party and New Nigeria People's Party, continue to grapple with internal crisis. Now, members of the opposition parties have accused the APC of taking advantage of the crisis and luring their members and in what it described as the APC's plot to kill opposition and quiet dissent. Reacting to the defections, the leadership of the Senate dismissed arguments that members of the opposition were moving to the ruling APC to avoid prosecution or for other sinister interests. Speaking recently during the defection of PDP Kebbi senators, the Senate leader, Opeyemi Bamidele, dismissed claims that they were coerced into defecting to the APC, insisting that the decision is voluntary and rooted in the spirit of national unity. Here's some of what the Senate leader said during the defection announcement.
The President of the country, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, is working with his party, the APC, to turn Nigeria to a one-party democracy. We are not at the polls. No one is being coerced. If anyone will be coerced, definitely it is not Senator Adamu Alero that I know and that all of us know. It is not Professor Yahya Abdullahi that will be co-opted by anyone. Neither is this Senator Medoki, who had also made a mark in the private sector before he ever ventured into politics. They are not in politics so that they could feed.
Bamidele further emphasized that the move was not an attempt to weaken the opposition or build a one-state party, but rather a step towards consolidating a government of national unity. He described the decision of the defectors as one made in the national interest, calling for less political grandstanding and more cooperation now to address Nigeria's pressing challenges. Well, let's discuss this. I'm joined by a political affairs analyst, Muyiwa Akintoday. It's a pleasure to have you on the program, sir. First of all, let me get your thoughts on these several defections to the ruling APC. Are you surprised at all by the number of people joining the ruling party?
All right, thank you very much for this opportunity. I would say I'm not surprised. Many more will join APC. In the build up to 2027 general election. Because the truth of the matter is that the politicians we have now in this era are politicians who only think about themselves, about what is it that will benefit them, and not necessarily about the people that they represent. So in the build up to the 2027 election, we are going to have more defection than we have now. Because the truth of the matter is that the opposition political parties have not been able to put their hands together. They keep blaming the ruling party of, poaching their members, of threatening them with corruption charges, trials, and all of that. But the truth of the fact is that if the table were to be turned the other way, this same opposition party will behave the same way that the APC is behaving now. Which is to look for more members as we get into the general election proper. This year is the only year that we have for governance. Towards the last quarter of this year, we begin real politics. And what APC is doing, which PDP and other opposition parties will do to empower, is to get the system ready for that battle that is almost upon us. So that's why I see. I don't usually pity politicians because they have a written up sentiment, but what they do behind the door among themselves is quite different.
Now, these defections now beg the question, the place of ideology, in Nigeria's political system. How come the Nigerian political system is not built on ideology, rather it is built on personal gains, like you mentioned earlier? And what then is the future of politics in Nigeria, particularly democracy now?
Well, I think we are practicing a new form of politics, a new form of democracy in Nigeria now. I think we are practicing a new form of democracy. And some people are worried, I'm also worried, that we may end up having a one-party state. There are other countries where we have one-party state, and it's good for the people. For as long as the Nigerian people want a one-party state, it will happen. Only the Nigerian people can stop a one-party state. Why I say that is that if you look at members of political parties, I think it's only APC that has come up with the number of members that they say they have across the country. That's 40 million. And if you look at the number of registered voters, it's far more than that. So which means that if you remove, and you can be sure that not all members of the political party will vote during election or even vote for their political party because of a lot of issues within the party, internal crisis and all that. So if the rest of Nigerians decide that this is what they want, APC is in power, and they say, okay, we don't want APC anymore. We want to try another party that is even new on the block. Nigerians are the ones who will determine whether they want a new political party, whether they want a multi-party democracy that is really truly multi-party, in which you have an opposition party that is effective, or whether they want, a new political party to take over. Nigerians have been complaining at every opportunity that you find them, at every platform that they can use. They've been complaining about the difficulty of this time. The government itself has been explaining that it's been doing a lot, and these difficulties were not caused by the government and all of that. Nigerians are the ones who will determine whether they were in a better position in 2023 when they last voted, general election, and then compared to 2027. I don't think that this movement will be led by politicians. it should be led by Nigerians, because politicians only go to where they find their own personal benefit. I mean, imagine now that the whole of the structure of the PDP in Delta State has been collapsed into the ruling party at the center. This is the first time in the history of Delta State that you are having the party move into what you can call a social welfarist party. The party has the PDP has the Delta State has always a conservative party. I mean, to go back to the question you asked about the ideology, in the way we practice politics in Nigeria, there is really no ideology anymore. It doesn't really matter. Somebody can wake up on the so-called welfarist side this morning, and by the evening, it's going to the capitalist side. It doesn't really matter. The whole thing is very free. So you now have a situation in Delta State where the party, the state that produced the running mate to the PDP in 2023, just about 2 years ago, that same individual has now crossed over to the opposition party. That same individual who, got a lot of votes or whatnot, couldn't beat Labour Party in the presidential election, Delta State, has now moved. The governor himself, who was massively voted by the people of Delta State on the ticket of PDP, has now moved to APC. So what are we talking about? You are saying that there's really no distinction between party A and party B. And so the issue of ideology does not really exist in Nigerian politics. That's my take on it.
Well, but a very vital question now is, do the people actually have the power, to speak against what is currently happening? Because like you rightly said, these numerous defections have triggered the conversation that Nigeria is edging towards a one-party system. People, are saying that very soon there will be no opposition to stand against the APC in elections, like you have said, like you have mentioned. But then the people actually have, what it takes to speak out and insist on, insist on not wanting the return of the ruling party?
I will tell you clearly that people have it. The people have the PDC. Nigerians always believe that votes don't count. And I say that votes do count. Yes, there will be malpractices, we've seen all of that happen, alteration of figures. But what I always, the way I look at it is that if we have 500 voters registered in a particular polling unit, and then we are able to mobilize 350 people to come out and vote. It doesn't matter which political party they vote for in the first instance, but 350 people are able to come out and vote. Any political party that is going to manipulate the result in that polling unit will have only 150 votes to contend with in terms of manipulation, adding and subtraction. The problem we have had, and if you look at the figures for our election, is a low turnout of voters. People complain about poor governance, they complain about hardship, they do all of that. And then when it comes to election day, everybody sits down in their sitting room, watching TV and monitoring radio and doing all kinds of playing on the
It's another factor that should be considered, because there's a very high level of voter apathy. So what's the guarantee that people are ready, to stand up to this impression or this fear that Nigeria is sliding towards a one-party system?
Okay, this thing did not start overnight. This issue that we're talking about did not start overnight. So we can't actually expect that we cure all the ills or most of the ills in our politics overnight. I'm saying by 2027, let's begin the process of getting people educated about the need for them to vote. The truth of the matter is that the power is in the hand of the electorate. Your PVC is your power. But people always have this perception that even if whether I vote or not, the result is already known. I'm sure you must have come across that kind of conversation almost every time we're having an election. I mean, it takes a lot of mind having to convince so many people to say, look, you have your PVC, go and vote. You are going to the polling booth and you see so many people doing all kinds of things on election day. And you are asking them, have you voted? They say, what's my own? What's my business in that? So majority of Nigerians are the cause of our problem politically, because we don't trust the system. And if you are not part of it, you are not part of it, there's no way you can have the kind of result that you desire. And we have to adopt the approach of a marathoner, long distance runner. This thing, cannot be achieved overnight. Let's start with 2027. Let's see how far we can go in 2027. The result may not come the way that majority of us expect. But I think that if we sustain that momentum, by 2031, by the next election, some things will begin to change. And that's what I'm asking Nigerians to do. Don't just sit down there and say, votes don't count. It doesn't really matter what I do. Votes will count if we all come out and exercise our franchise, or majority of us come out and exercise our franchise. The vote will begin to count.
Now, the defectors from these opposition parties, particularly from the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party, and even the NNPP, have cited the leadership crisis in their camps. Now, the PDP has accused the ruling party of taking advantage of the crisis and luring its members, especially those who have been accused of corrupt practices. People actually refer to a statement made by the former national chairman now of the APC, Adams Oshiomhole, back in 2019, where he said, in quote, "When you join the APC, your sins are forgiven." Although Oshiomhole has said that the statement was taken out of context, but then could there be some truth to this allegation leveled against the ruling party?
Well, I would say that to some extent it could be so. But I will look at what Oshiomhole said as a marketing tool, just a way of getting people into his own political party, which is fair enough. I mean, when you are campaigning, you look for all things that are legitimate, including those that are not practically legitimate, and throw into the mix. But the reality is that there are a lot of APC former governors too, who have also had to face EFCC or are also facing trial. So it's really not foolproof that if you join the ruling party, you are safe from being prosecuted. It's not true. It's not really true. It's just that politicians look for excuse for everything that they do. I mean, why will it be? The thing is that all of them want to belong to the winning party, and they fail to realize that if all of you in the opposition party, stay within your political party, come together, galvanize yourself, you will be able to defeat the ruling party. After all, in 2015. The ruling party, PDP, was defeated because there were a lot of, deflections from PDP, the NPDP, the APC, the NPP, the CPC, and a fraction of the ABGA. They all came together in the build of the 2015 election and decided to work together. And they defeated the sitting president. It is not impossible. That's what it means. I mean, look at the last election. The president that we have now, Bola Tinubu, lost in his own state on the presidential election. He lost in his own state. So it means that some of these things are possible only if the people come together and decide to do the right thing. What I'm saying is let Nigerians realize what they want. The cash and carry politics can never go away. But maybe if you say you are hungry and you want to collect the money, but at the end of the day, you have to realize that you are actually paying for the pains of the 4 years by collecting the money that you probably will blow within a minute or 5 minutes or even within that day. So what I'm saying is that Nigerians should know that they can actually replace a ruling government. And I've given an example. It has happened before. It can happen again.
Mr. Akintunde, we'll continue this conversation after this break. Do stay with us. The program will continue shortly. Welcome back. We're still discussing the gale of defections to the ruling APC. Political affairs analyst Muyiwa Akintunde is still with me on the program. Mr. Akintunde, as it currently stands, these fresh defections have raised members of the PDP in the National Assembly, that's across both chambers now, the Senate and the House of Reps, to 265, while opposition lawmakers have been reduced to 202. You think this is a threat to Nigeria's democracy?
Well, you look at it that way, yes, it's a threat to Nigerian democracy because we're expected to have a multi-party National Assembly to be able to stand whatever the executive is bringing and scrutinize it. Not necessarily, I don't believe in opposition for the sake of opposition, but if you have something that is better than what the executive has presented, you should be able to, put it forward. It's all in favor of the country. But let's be realistic. Let's say the issue of Natasha, when the issue of Natasha came up, and all of the emotion that issue brought into play, when they were going to vote, people did not vote across party lines. Let's remember that. Secondly, when we also had the issue of state of emergency in Rivers State, and the president brought, as expected, as required by the Constitution, brought it to the National Assembly, the Senate and House of Reps, there was no dissent, particularly in the Senate. Yes, they said they had to do voice vote. Sorry, they had to do acclamation, not counting senator one by one. But there was no single party senator. And in that Senate, we have Labour Party, we have PDP, we have NNPP in that Senate, just as we also have in the executive SDP in the House of Reps. None of them, the other opposition party, raised any issue about this. So that means that politicians have agreed among themselves that this is the way we want to go. I'm talking about those who are leading us to the National Assembly. I am for multi-party democracy in the region of the world. I am not happy that we are beginning to have a Senate or House of Reps where the overwhelming majority belong to one political party. But what about those who are still there, even if it's only one or two people that are in the opposition party? What have they done to really show that they want something different from what the ruling party is doing? So that's what I think we should look at.
Focus to the opposition parties now, specifically the PDP, Labour Party and New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP. Right after the 2023 elections, the internal wranglings in the parties began, and there seems to be no end in sight to this crisis, which of course is why their members are leaving. Now, recently, the acting national chairman of the PDP, that's Umar Damagam, mentioned that the APC is taking advantage now of this crisis and luring their members. Do you in any way agree with Damagam, and what would you say has fueled the inability of these parties to come, to sort out their differences?
First is self-ambition. Every politician wants to be, the leader, president, governor, whatever. If they can subdue their self-ambition and look at the collective interest, I believe that some of these things begin to work out. Okay, let's look at what happened in 2023. PDP has institutionalized zoning. In 1978, when PDP was founded, leading to the 79 election, they decided to agree on zoning the presidency. If the chairman of the party comes from the south, the presidential candidate will come from the north. That's what they have been doing on 2023. When for whatever reason, you knew that we had a president from the north, whether it is a PDP or APC or any party. The outgoing president, Muhammad Buhari, had ruled 8 years and was from the north. One of the problems that PDP created for itself, and generally for the opposition party, is to insist that they will have a candidate also from the north. It then means that if PDP had won the 2023 election, in the country, I believe in merit. Anybody can come from anywhere and become leader. But we have to also understand the diversity of this country. So that means that if PDP had won that election, we'll have had a northerner rule for 8 years. And then another one ruling for almost for 8 years. It should be like, because there's this story about Atiku saying he would only want one term. It's just a story. The moment he gets into office, he wants to be a second term. So what I think that the opposition party should do is to first subsume their selfish interests. Even now that everybody is galvanizing, you still find the likes of Atiku Abubakar still determined to be. What if in 2023, for instance, Peter Obi was not virtually pushed out of PDP? Because Peter Obi knew that they are likely to give that ticket to Atiku from the north, that they left PDP and then moved into PDP and Labour Party. And look at what Peter Obi was able to galvanize, even within a short space of time that he joined the Labour Party. Assuming he had run, assuming a strong candidate, maybe not an Atiku, but a strong candidate from the north, not the running mate that he had, who could not even win his polling booth. Assuming a strong candidate from the north, I also contested against it. APC had a problem of the Muslim ticket in a country like Nigeria that is very, when it comes to religion, we are really very tense. And yet, you couldn't put your house together. And the same thing is repeating itself for the opposition party now. I expected that, like I said before, in the period of 2015 election, by this time in 2013, what became APC had galvanized itself. Those who were in the new PDP, PDP, those who were in the then ACN, those who were in the AMPP, CFCPC, had come together and formed a new political party called APC. And they started galvanizing themselves. What is the opposition doing now? The coalition of opposition, what are they doing? They still don't know whether they want to, and rather than even getting stronger, they are becoming weaker. Do you know how many governors that are on the waiting list now to do what Delta State Governor Bolo already did last month? Many of them are governor of Akwa Ibom already fled his allegiance to the second term of President Tinubu. Although he says that he doesn't want to pick with PDP, he has already openly declared his support for President Tinubu. So what kind of opposition are we having in this country? It's painful that we don't have opposition that really can stand and look at the political party in power and say, you are not doing the right thing, So that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that for opposition to look at themselves first, remove remove all this issue of the pressure from the ruling party. If the table were to be turned the other way, if the opposition party were to be the one in power, they would do worse than what APC is saying to them now.
Well, we're quite sad for the opposition parties if their members keep leaving for the APC, particularly as far as the 2027 elections are concerned. And Mr. Muyiwa Akintoye, thank you very much for coming on the program and for sharing your thoughts. Thank you, sir. That's all on this episode of the program. Thank you very much for watching. Join us next time.
It's extremely important to recognize that Afghanistan is one of the world's most climate impacted countries and also prone to natural disasters. I was able to witness firsthand the work that has been done on reintegrating refugees and returnees coming into the province, looking at the work that has been done in response to the earthquake in this area. Innovative approaches have been undertaken by the United Nations and partners to have local vernacular structures which are earthquake resistance, rebuilding permanent structures in this village behind me. I have seen again firsthand the collective efforts of the local authorities, of the partners, NGOs and the United Nations in trying to rebuild the lives together with the communities here. The response has enabled people to rebuild lives in a very challenging environment. And in my visit in Herat, I have had the opportunity to look at private sector enterprises that are working, bringing Afghan men and women into the marketplace, into economic activity, and particularly women-led micro and small enterprises was eye-opening to look at the potential on one side and the need for support for these enterprises to scale up through investments in microfinance, access to markets, support in business literacy skills, etc. This is a vital part of rebuilding Afghanistan with its private sector, tapping into the human capital of Afghan men and women, and affording the space, particularly for women and girls, to contribute and have the space to be part of the nation-building process of Afghanistan.
even though it is considered that we have a so-called disability, we really are able persons with different abilities.
For society and development to be included of persons with disabilities, we need to have equal access to education and to knowledge and information. Yet, out of millions of publications each year, fewer than 5% are made available in accessible formats for visually impaired persons. In developing countries, an even smaller percentage of publications are available in accessible formats. The Marrakesh Treaty, as it is called, will greatly expand the availability of artistic and literary works in accessible forms, such as Braille, large print text, and audiobooks. This can make a real difference in the lives of the world's more than 300 million visually impaired persons.
At the end of the day, we must come together and make however and where we are in the world be a place of unification, because me being blind visually doesn't mean that I have to be blind spiritually. And someone being sighted doesn't mean that they should be blind of those things in the world that we need to fix. We have to have inclusion. Let us not become handicapped again, blind to the issues and the problems of those in need.
Good day and welcome to your favorite sport program on TV, 360 Sport. As usual on the program, it's definitely going to be another exciting moment on the show. A moment that even after the show, you have a lot of reasons to go and visit us on all our social media platforms to get those parts of the program you miss. I have two important guests in the show, and these two guests from two different parts of the world. One from the side of the federal government and also a private sector. A lot of people have been talking about private sector and public sector involvement to enable a lot of things go forward. And I'm sure these investors, these entrepreneurs have done so well for themselves to really collaborate to ensure that equestrian sport gets to where it's. A lot of people are also surprised that we have equestrian sport in this part of our world. But without so much ado, let me go straight to Abuja, where we have the president of Equestrian Federation, that's Nigerian Equestrian Federation, talking about Dr. Anthony Obiora. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Also, in the studio with me is we have Madam Vanessa Asuni, who is also into equestrian services. She is the owner of Giddy Equestrian Services. A lot of things has to do with animals, horses, and Giddy Horse Ride. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So we go straight, I'm sure a lot of our viewers are wondering, we go straight to Dr. Anthony Obiora. As the president of Nigerian Equestrian Federation. What was it all about? Because it's still a sport that 90% of Nigerians don't know that such sport exists in this part of the world. What can you say about that?
Yes, thank you so much. Let me begin by saying that we're really happy to be on this platform. Thank you for the opportunity to, speak about these very important sports. Nigeria Equestrian Federation was established on the 9th of December 2022, and we are the governing body that regulates equestrian sports in Nigeria. We regulate the FEI equestrian disciplines. By these disciplines, I mean the show jumping, the dressage, the eventing, the vaulting, and endurance. These are new disciplines which we are trying to establish, we're trying to develop, and these are the Olympics disciplines. So we are working in hand with some stakeholders like the Giddy Up Riding Academy to promote these sports. And this is a sport that has a lot of following globally. I'm sure you must be aware that equestrian sports has huge economic impact globally, over $300 billion. And it is sad to say that Nigeria hasn't yet tapped into this enormous potential. So it's a good thing that is a wake-up call, and we are happy that platforms as yours is seeing the importance of having this discussion so that Nigeria begins to also tap into these enormous potentials.
Well said, and I'm sure a lot of people agree with that. But do you see any reason why we lack in the sport, why we are so behind? There's some sport that are local sport that you know that from generation to generations, there are sports that has been always around us. This equestrian sport, do you think it's a sport that has been with us in ages and we decide to leave it behind, or we have nothing to do with the sport from inception of the country?
All right, so equestrian sports, as you know, is an elitist sport. It's very expensive, and it's not like it hasn't been in existence. It is a sport that has over a century existence. Prominently, we have the polo and the horse racing. These are the prominent equestrian sports we have in Nigeria until recently, when we decided to introduce these new disciplines. So it's a sport that is very expensive, and I believe it's one of the reasons why it hasn't gained that prominence, because of how expensive it is. People having access to horses is difficult. Horses are very expensive, and their maintenance and all that. But the good thing now is with the likes of Giddy Academy, with the likes of other riding clubs that are coming up, and of course with the support of Nigerian Equestrian Federation and other stakeholders, we are trying to open up this access so that you don't necessarily have to own a horse before you can participate in equestrian sports. You can actually come to these riding academies or centers and register, and then go through the training procedures and preparations towards competing. So the sport has been in existence, but access points and of course some other challenges, had made it not gain the required attention, such as funding and challenge, such as infrastructure. We have limited infrastructure across the country. We have also the quality of horse care is not as it ought to. So there are several challenges which we are trying to overcome. So that's why it hasn't been that prominent as it ought to.
Has there been any time given that you are aware of that the government, as the Nigerian government, whether the state level, the local government level, or the federal level, has dedicated a particular fund or a particular time or a particular innovation to elevate the sport?
Yes, currently we are having several discussions with the ministries, the National Sports Commission, the Olympics Committee, and you see, the thing is, the existing equestrian sports, right, the polo and the horse racing are not Olympics disciplines. And I should also think it's part of the reasons why government have not really given the kind of support. Now, this industry, before now, like the polo, the horse racing, they haven't given it that economic outlook. Okay. Now, the federal government, with the coming on board of Nigeria Equestrian Federation, which has the Olympics registered discipline. Now, it means that people who participate in these sports can compete at the Olympics, and which is where the National Sports Commission, Nigerian Olympics Committee comes in, because now they can train athletes to participate in international events. So the government has actually shown serious interest, and we are having that discussion with the Olympics Committee. We are having that discussion with the National Sports Commission to promote the sport. So it's at the moment, I would say, gaining that required attention, but a lot needs to be done.
Well said. We will just come into the studio where we have Madam Vanessa Asuni here with us. You are from the private sector, and you obviously agreed to some of what you said. What brought you to the sport? Because it's obvious that you probably be the only one in Lagos or thereabout, not less than 5, doing this. What's the motivation behind a sport that lasts so much of followership?
Thank you. You know, equestrian sports and working with horses is something that requires the knowledge, the passion, and also a great deal of dedication. And this is one of the reasons why you don't see many people doing it. You have to bear in mind that we're working with live animals that are huge, and one really needs to know what they're doing in order to do it properly. So the way it started for me was that I started very young at 5.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we had something called the Ikeja Saddle Club here in Lagos, and my parents were members of that club. I started riding there, fell in love with horses, and was able to turn my passion into a career by starting the Lagos Polo Club Riding Academy and then Giddy Up Horse Riding Academy. So those are the 2 riding facilities, academies that are available here in Lagos.
Well, sir, and probably for a sport like this, there'll be so much challenges. For you on the private sector angle point of, what have you done to overcome these challenges?
You see, we don't look back, we keep going. And because I'm fueled by passion, there's no need to wait for anybody. And once they see like what is happening now, they're seeing what we're doing, they're seeing how Giddy Up is empowering the youth, not just those that are able to afford equestrian sports, like Dr. Obiora and you stated correctly. It is quite an expensive sport. So what we do at Giddy Up is we also empower the youth. We empower those kids who on a normal day would not even dream of coming near horses, which is why we have our equine youth empowerment program. So kids from the barracks, kids that would usually not do it, we bring them in, we train them, we teach them how to ride in exchange for helping out at the stables with the horses in their free time.
Obviously, you have. Let me bring Doctor into this particular conversation. She has stated so well what she's doing and the passion. On the side of the government, is there any model avenue or a model infrastructure in place to also encourage those that we want to be part of this? Like she has rightly stated, her passion. So far, so good. Has there been anything on the side that the government have pushed to the forefront that will probably enable people like her to continue their passion?
All right, so we are currently making some propositions to the federal government and state governments to develop infrastructures for equestrian activities in the states and the federal level. And like I mentioned, it's a sport that hasn't gotten the required attention until recently. But the federal government is we actually proposing to set up a national equestrian center.
Okay.
It's part of the proposition the federation put in to open up that access point for clubs, for youth, and even for international events to hold, because as it is now, assuming there's an international event is to hold, we don't even have a very standard equestrian center that we can use for such. Yes, we do have some polo club has their own pitch, horse racing pitch and all, but for also these new disciplines, we don't have a center that we can actually have such sports. So we are having discussions with the federal government to maintain some of the existing infrastructures in the states, equip them with infrastructure, equip them with what the youth can use for their training and performance. And then also setting up the National Equestrian Center that would open up that, gives it that international league, so that if tomorrow the FEI wants to host an international event in Nigeria, such centers can, be a place, especially also as we are looking at beginning the Nigeria Equestrian League next year. It's also a league that can attract investment and that can open up the sector as well.
Okay, well said, Doctor. And Vanessa, let's not look. He was also there when the second edition. What's the whole equestrian giddy game? What's all about? Because we saw a lot of different kind of horse races. Tell us about.
Okay, so the Giddy Up horse riding and show jumping competition is for, the kids to come and showcase their talents and what they've been doing. So equestrian sports and horse riding is not just something you do. It's more of a lifestyle. It's a hobby. It's something that you keep doing. These kids eventually want to be able to own their own horses and, take care of the horses and keep riding. Horse riding has so many benefits. So we had the obstacle course competition for those that were on the lower level that can't jump yet. And this showcased how well they're able to control their horses. We also had the show jumping on junior division and senior. So for the seniors, we allowed the kids from our Equine Youth Empowerment Program to come and also showcase, and which we gave cash prizes to them, thanks to our sponsors. So this is what it's all about.
So, what areas do you think we need the president and the public sector to encourage such sports? Now that Dr. Obiora was there yesterday, from the government's angle of collaboration, what role do you need the government to do to strengthening the sport in the country?
Well, that's a very good question. I think Dr. Obiora is on track when he says we need a center that actually knows exactly how to groom these youths to learn about the whole equestrian sports and just the facilities, the horses. I'm also very big on animal welfare. It's not just about getting horses and keeping them there. It's, can you maintain the horses? Can you maintain the facility? Are you able to, give them the proper care so that when people see, if you see our horses, they're very well looked after, and we put a lot, that comes first. Without the horses, there's no equestrian sports. So it's very important to put these animals who are serving us, giving us the opportunity to do this, put them first. The people that are taking care of the animals also take care of them and empower them, teach them the right ways and the wrong ways. And when we're able to do that, everything will go smoothly.
The other parts that I need to say before I come to Dr. Obiora is there's a connection between some of the riders and the horses. How long does the take to connect? Because I know for a dog, the connection is maybe divine. But for horses, does it come that way? What does it take for a child to get connected to an horse? Because I can see some of the child controlling the horse, and the horse is really obeying some of them.
Yes, that's a very good question. And to answer that, horses are even more intelligent than dogs. They recognize sense. They recognize people. They remember. And they know they can sense everything. They know who is scared, they know who is anxious, which is why we have something like equine assisted therapy.
Okay.
So if you, at our event, we actually had one of the riders compete who is on the spectrum,
Okay.
and he comes and rides and he loves it, he enjoys it, and you know, it's an honor and a pleasure to be able to give this kind of opportunity to kids in this part of the world.
Okay, and I'm sure there's so much you need to do to ensure, and that should be for Dr. Obiora right now, there's so much the government needs to do to ensure that the sport penetrates. Is there an initial resistance of interest in the sport? I mean, there should be so much to do on the grassroots. What do you think the role the government needs to entail that the sport gets to the grassroots, even if not in practice, in knowledge?
All right, I can tell you that we don't have resistance. There are lots of interest. Actually, there are lots of interest among youth. You know, we've had some grassroots programs across the country, and the enthusiasts are very passionate. One thing about this sport is passion, you know, and that passion can drive you to any length. So we could see that passion among the youth who want to get involved. And by the way, Nigeria has a rich cultural heritage in horses.
Definitely.
You know, it's a heritage that has spanned over a century. So it's not new to us. It's something that we love. But then with the right collaboration, with the right investment, with the right support from the government, and truthfully, it's not just about the government, because the government has lots to do, you know? So that's why we are really encouraging the private sector to come in and support, you know, sponsorship, training, providing this infrastructure and all. And it's something that can really open up the equestrian space, create opportunity, job opportunities, and even boost local economies. So it's a big space, it's a big sector that with the right support will really do a whole lot. In one of our conversations, I did mention that this sport has the potential of bringing in about $500 million annually into the coffers of Nigerian economy.
On that,
and
Doctor.
this is the fact,
Let's
when
see,
it's properly harnessed.
Well said, but one aspect I think probably will do so well for development of the sport is train the trainers. I saw there were 3 judges on that day, and how many of the judges do we have, or how many of the technical know-how person is the federation having, or what are they doing in ensuring that other people get to know about the sport, and training the trainer kind of scheme that will also I tell you, it's a big privilege for me. My years of sport journalism, broadcasting, this is my first time of having anything to do with this sport. So what's the government, the role of the federation doing to ensure that there's always a training the trainer scheme to ensure that people know the rules? Because journalists, we need to put down our reports, we need to write the technical, who won, how the scores are being counted. What role is the federation doing in regards to that?
All right, so the federation has a national coaching program.
That's
level 1, level 2, and level 3. So it's a national program for people who are interested. Currently, we have about 20 coaches and judges who have undergone this training. So, and it's an ongoing program, and it's open to every individual who is interested to be part of this industry. So it's a program well structured that takes you from grassroots to advanced level of coaching and officiating the events.
Okay. So, Dr. Obiora, Vanessa Asuni, we'll go on this quick break. Where we come back, there'll be so much question to ask, and definitely to get a lot of people aware about this beloved and noble sport. Don't go away. It's TV360 Sport Nigeria. And welcome back. Still 360 Sport. If you want to be part of the program, you can join us on all our social media platforms where the conversation never ends. And if you're just joining us, we have Vanessa Asuni, who is the founder of Equestrian Giddy Up Services, and the Federation President, that I'm talking about Dr. Obiora Anthony, who is the President of Nigerian Equestrian Federation. On the final note today, I want to go with Vanessa to tell us the list of 1 or 2 things that can just change the sport around under 2 years.
So this exposure that we're having is great for equestrian sports. This is something that will really put us on the platform and enable us to cement our youth in that global equestrian space. It's something that once people are more aware of, we know that they will want to come and do it. And with the support of our government, it will really help us, accelerate this goal, and also the support of the Nigeria Equestrian Federation as well.
Okay. Also, Doctor, I want to use the example of the Archery Federation, which have been involved for a very long time in the development of the sport. So there's a lot of issues going on between the Archery Federation presidents and also the stakeholders. Something I'm aware of, and I've played a great role in that. Meanwhile, while everything is going on, there's so much of private sector that has made archery go beyond the federation. How much are you going to collaborate with so much of your private sector, like Giddy Equestrian Services and the rest? How much support are you willing to give? Because I know that the private sector in this part of our country always do so much innovation that also encourage the public sector. So tell us about what you tend to do to ensure that it is not just the private sector involvement, the government will always support, like you support, collaborated with Madam Vanessa Asuni.
All right, thank you very much. So the Nigerian Equestrian Federation is open to collaborations because we believe this is one of the ways these sports can thrive and gain the accelerated attention it requires. And like you rightly pointed, we collaborated with the Giddy Up Riding Academy. We sanctioned this event because we want to encourage them. We want to encourage the Riding Academy to do more. And because we want to make this event known globally, we want to make this club known globally. We want to showcase them to the world and inform the world that what they're doing, we're in support. It increases their credibility. It gives them that national recognition. So we are also open to every other riding club across the country who are interested in developing this sport. We are also open to other private sectors. The people also, the private sector that also want to get involved, and we have that collaboration. Like Nigerian Equestrian Federation has collaborations with different other stakeholders. We have collaboration with Kano Polo Club.
So, Doctor, in the next 2 years, where will we be seeing this sport before we round up the show? Where should we be seeing? Is there a trajectory for where we should be expecting the sport in the next 2 years?
Yeah. In the next 2 years, we envision these sports gaining the required attention. We envisage in 2 years, Nigeria should be in the first World Equestrian Games. We already have one of our members who is pursuing his qualification. And we are very, very also certain that Nigeria will be in the next Olympics in 2028. So these are part of the things we are positioning for this federation and for Nigeria entirely.
Yes, this is all we take on today's program. It's been a wonderful time. I want to say a big thank you to my two guests. One in the studio here. On my left is Vanessa Asuni, and in Abuja is Dr. Anthony Obiora, who is the president of Nigerian Equestrian Federation. And we want to thank you for giving us your time and for the development of the sport in the country. Thank you very much, Vanessa Asuni. Thank you very much, Doctor, for giving us your time. If you check your time, It's time to round up today's program. It's been wonderful. Like I said earlier, you want to join us? You can join us on all our social media platforms where the conversation never stops. For everything that has to do with equestrian services, you can join us on our YouTube page to also listen again, watch this wonderful program, and probably the first TV station to talk about equestrian services in Nigeria. Thank you very much, our viewers. Same time next week, we'll be giving you all what you need to know in the world of sports. Bye for now.
Hello and welcome. Now, it's been more like 1 week, one trouble for the Labour Party as its leadership crisis continues to worsen. This time, it's more like fire for fire from both factions. So what happened? Well, the faction of the embattled national chairman of the party, Julius Abure, recently met and slammed an indefinite suspension on 6 prominent members of the party, including Abia State Governor Alex Oti, Senators Darlington Nwokocha and Ireti Kingibe, over alleged anti-party activities. Now, others suspended are House of Representative members Victor Afam Ogene, Amobi Oga, and Sheyi Shoumi. The party's National Executive Council said the decision followed the recommendations of a 5-man disciplinary committee set up on May 2nd, 2025 to probe allegations of anti-party conduct. It also addressed the omission of Nenadi Usman from the suspension list, stating that she is not a registered member of the Labour Party, but a supporter of its 2023 presidential candidate, Peter Obi. Take a lesson now to Abure.
The following members of the party have been suspended from the party and all its activities indefinitely and with immediate effect. Number 1, Dr. Alex Oti. 2, Senator Ireti Kingibe. 3, Senator Darlington Nwokocha. 4, Honorable Victor Afam Ogene. 5, Honorable Amobi Oga. 6, Honorable Sheyi Shoumi. By this suspension, these former members of the party will no longer act on behalf of the party. All concerned institutions, including the Nigerian Governors Forum, the National Assembly, INEC, and the security agencies, amongst others, are to take note.
Well, that's actually Obiora Ifo, the National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party now. That's the faction of the Labour Party loyal to Julius Abure. Now, in response to the action of that action now by the Abure faction, the other faction led by Nenadi Usman, which is, of course, the caretaker committee backed by the Abia State Governor Alex Oti, returned fire by announcing that it had opened an investigation on alleged corruption and forgery against Abure. In fact, they went ahead to announce the suspension of Abure as well. Now, Senator Ireti Kingibe was appointed to lead the investigation and recommend appropriate sanctions at the end of the process. The faction also accused Abure of impersonating as the chairman of the party, saying that he has since been removed by the Supreme Court. And in response to his suspension from the party by the Abure faction, Governor Oti has asked the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, to arrest Abure, accusing him of impersonation. In a statement by his media aide, Oti argued that Abure did not have the power to suspend him and 5 others from the party because he was no longer the LP's national chairperson. He also described Abure's action as, quote, an affront on democracy, end of quote. Well, it appears there's no end to this crisis in the Labour Party. Only God knows when this and how this will be resolved. Joining me now to discuss this further is a legal practitioner and political affairs analyst, Libros Oshoma. Also joining us is a political affairs analyst, Charles Ideho. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Libros, let me start with you because you are the lawyer here. Didn't that Supreme Court judgment remove Abure as the national chairman of the party?
It was to decline jurisdiction to that matter, saying that the parties should go and resolve their matter. The Supreme Court did not go into the meat or merit of the case. You remember at the Court of First Instance, the court gave judgment in favor of the Nenadi Usman-led faction.
Yes.
At the Court of Appeal reinstated Abure.
Yes.
And then the Supreme Court lashed out at the Court of Appeal that the Court of Appeal does not even have jurisdiction at all. That the courts, the Federal High Court and the Court of Appeal does not have jurisdiction to look into the matter, not to talk of even making an order. And that so, being a party matter, an internal affair of the party is at best, in the best place to resolve their crisis. So the court didn't make an order. So what?
But I thought the court also said Abure's tenure had expired.
I don't remember the court making that pronouncement because the court, if the court had said that the tenure had expired, that would mean the court, making a pronouncement on the matter. The court only said, I think it was the Court of First Instance that said the Abure's tenure had expired, and the Court of Appeal disagreed. But the Supreme Court disagreed with both the Court of First Instance and the Court of Appeal, holding that both courts lacked jurisdiction to hear the matter, being an internal affair of the party, that it was the party's prerogative to decide their internal affair. So what now happened was both parties started claiming victory. Because the appeal against the Court of Appeal judgment was against Abure, the moment the court declined jurisdiction, what the OT, Nenadi Usman's faction, said was that that means the judgment that reinstated Abure had been nullified. And so to that extent, judgment, God had given them judgment. While Abure's faction had said, well, since the court had heard that parties should go back and resolve their issue, and that party had met, was it in Anambra, and Abure was re-elected, and that should stay. So that's why both parties are holding on to victory, at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court did not make a definite pronouncement giving either of the party judgment. That was the same thing that happens with the seat of Ayaun in PDP. And so you saw what the PDP now did. The National Working Committee, subject to the neck of the party, had appointed a caretaker secretary.
Charles, why is it difficult to resolve this? Because as it is today, you have Julius Abure acting he says he's the national chairman of the party. Nenadi Usman says she is the acting chairperson. She is actually leading a caretaker committee. And of course, questions have been raised as to whether those who actually set up that caretaker committee had the power to do so and all of that. But why do you think it's so difficult to resolve this? Why is it difficult for, these key actors to sit down at the table and iron this out?
Okay, first, we must look at all these cases in America. Number one, all parties have laws that govern them, all right? So when you have disputes, you resort to your laws, the laws you made for yourself, the laws made by yourself in order for you to self-govern yourself. So That's exactly where they are not referring to those laws. That's the way I see it. Number one, I have looked at all the political parties in Nigeria, and I look at the way they are organized, the way they organize themselves. But you see, you can't remove a national officer of any party without the national working committee meeting, either to ratify the person's position or to say the person had maybe his tenure had expired. And if your tenure has expired, there has to be a national convention through which that you can now elect a new executive. That has not taken place in Labour. So it means that if the National Working Committee has not met and there's no national convention, Abure, by default, remains the national president.
Doesn't it matter that the chairman, I mean the governor, Governor Alex Oti is on the other side, and Peter Obi is as well on the other side. Doesn't that give them that legitimacy to have taken the action they took?
No, it's not. It's not, because you'll be building something on nothing. As I said, okay, the way parties are structured, you have the National Working Committee, you have the National Executive Committee, then you now have all of them replicated in all the respective states. So each organ has its laws, each organ has its power to dispense. When you want to come up with a new executive, there has to be a national convention. It's explicitly stated. There has to be a national convention through which you can choose all this. But if it has not happened, then you cannot say you are the leader. And one other thing that Abure was fighting, because in a manner of speaking, I can tell you that when Abure, there was a time he had problem with about whether he embezzled money, that he had the SPC problem and all that. When he was set free, I personally, they contacted me, and I remember I arranged a media briefing for him at Marriott Hotel. Sorry for mentioning brand, actually. And I remember all of them, all the cards were laid on the table. You understand? Now, there has not been a national convention organized where they can say, okay, Abure's tenure has expired. That's the case. Now, going to OT and what's his name now? Peter Obi. I also blame Peter Obi. Why I blame him on two fronts. Number one, Peter Obi, I think what he did was that he forfeited the goodwill he enjoyed when he has this organic followership that was brought upon him by the obedient movement. What he has done was that it should have transitioned them into Labour Party membership. And that would have shored up the power that, of course, all of them were building Labour Party, number one. Number two, then what Abure was fighting was that there was a clandestine move, allegedly so, that they were all making all these things a regional body, regional party. If you look at all the names you'll be having there, all of them suspended, they're all Igbo. Abure said, no, this is a national party. You receive all your votes from everywhere. Now, because we had a governor from the southeast, does not make the party a southeast party. So let's remain where we are. Let us have this spread across Nigeria. Because if we continue to defer to OT, because it's the only party that the only governor that the party had been able to put in their kitty, then there will be a problem. What happened to ABGA? ABGA being a regional party, we also happen to Labour Party.
Governor Oti has has asked the Inspector General of Police to arrest Abure for impersonation. Do you see the Inspector General of Police acting on this?
It is not the business of the Inspector General of Police to dabble into a family matter of a Labour Party until it is decided whether Abure remains the national chairman of the party or not. It is not in the mouth of anybody to say, go and arrest him. It's like two people fighting, and then one says, police arrest him. The other one says, police arrest him. He's the thief. The other one says, no, he's the thief. So I think at best, I would have expected, after every election, every party that is what is sought set up what they call reconciliation committee. We have seen the PDP, do that consistently, despite the fact that their house is in tatters presently. Even APC had their own also. During Buhari, we saw President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who then was the leader of the party, we saw him heading a reconciliation committee of the party. And even though at that time some of us felt that he also need reconciliation to the party, but they set up something to attempt to reconcile members. In the same vein, we also saw after this last election. No, after the primaries. After the APC primaries.
Yes, after the APC primaries, that's true.
Yes, where we saw President Bola Ahmed Tinubu
going round
all the members, Oshibanjo and co, trying to reconcile, because party is about numbers. We've also seen PDP, despite the consistent backlash from Wike, we saw Atiku's attempt to reconcile, Wike with the party. So we have seen them consistently meet at the National Working Committee level. So one would have expected that Peter Obi, being the presidential candidate, of the party, who enjoys the goodwill of the party, who the party, gave ticket to, at the dying minute, Abure might have his nuances and shenanigans, because if you remember, there were a lot of accusations against Abure of selling tickets to the highest bidder. Even Olumide Akpata in the Edo State election at some point accused Abure of trying to, swat or scuttle his effort. Olumide practically said that the enemy within was worse than the enemy outside. So in all of this, Abure might have its problems, but as a party flag bearer, who also, except he doesn't want to use the party again, because now I don't even know whether Peter Obi is in Labour or is in SDP or is in PDP. One would have expected that he would be able to, bring everybody together, sit at the round table, and then, table all their grievances and, we didn't see all of this, back and forth, with the party. So I expect that they should have been more mature than this. But with the accusation, counter accusation against Abure also, high-handed and strong, believing that he labored for the party, he built it, he worked for Peter Obi, and that it is now, because in his word, let me use his word, it is now time to enjoy. Because he likes using that word. I will send you to Abuja to go and be enjoying, make your money. So that it is now time to enjoy, that he feels that they want to push him aside. So certainly he will fight back. And so if now we have not even seen the gain of the 2023 general election, the ruling party is already talking about 2027. One would have expected that for a candidate who was not the president, who had opposition from even within his party, to be able to win the election. Now that he's a president, you will need to work twice as hard as you worked earlier on to be able to defeat him. But having all of this kind of division within your party, when others are already consolidated, governors are decamping into APC, and then these are the same people you hope to, go into an election with. I do not think that if they continue like this, they will go into, they will even be able to fit candidates for election, because
we're not even sure they're going to run on that platform anyway.
It is because the local government election conducted by Lesotho, all his supporters for that local government election, he moved them to a different political party. So already the party is factionalized at that level. So what's the guarantee that, they will remain on that platform? So at this rate, it is only a ruling party that usually have this kind of faction, because there is so much food to share. Not a party in opposition that came, a distant third in a national election. All right. Member are even already decamping.
Okay. But let me come to you, Charles. But is it a wise decision to suspend your only governor from your party indefinitely? I mean, The only governor that they have, that's Alex Oti. They are suspending him indefinitely, no matter what. Should that have happened?
Well, there's a yes, there's a no. Okay, maybe let me start with the no. The no, it may seem to be. I mean, to me, it seems to be a foolhardy action, because you have made gains and you have just one out of 18 parties. I mean, you know that other ones, the SDP, they don't have any governor. It's only APC, PDP, and then Labour, and then NPP in Kano. So for me, to seem a foolhardy action to so do. But that's the no. The yes there is that the action may seem to be, as I said, foolhardy, but I think is geared towards reenacting or letting them know that party supremacy is above all. Because you are a governor, you are a minister, you can't be bigger than the party. Maybe that's the message you want to send to them. No matter how highly placed you are still subject to the supremacy of that party. So if you are a governor, as Governor Oti is in Abia State, and then they find you to be whatever you are doing,